Alrighty. Here we are on a beautiful Monday morning, and I mean beautiful, in Hamilton, Ohio. Greater Cincinnati, but our official location, Hamilton, Ohio. And welcome to Dialed In with Tom Brenneman. We come your way, don't forget now, every Monday and every Friday. Mondays we're live at 9:15 a.m. Fridays we come your way just after Off the Bench. And we're also posting on the Believe Network. We're here on Chatterbox Sports. You can watch us at YouTube/Chatterbox Sports page. I understand, Casey McAllister, producer of this outstanding program, that we are now going to be live on Twitter. Or X, as my good friend Elon Musk likes to say.
Yes, this show will be live on X for the foreseeable future. So
how about that? Elon has made it possible. A lot of guys around here badmouth Elon.
Not me.
We've got a full cast of characters in here today. I mean, some old faces, some new faces. You know Casey. You know our good friend Elliot Rearing. Elliot, the zebra.
How we doing?
I'm doing good.
How we looking? We're looking good over here.
We're looking good.
Looking great.
Although I got to tell you, I walk in here today and, I wake up in the morning every day. And after the alarm goes off, I'm laying down. And I just take a few minutes and I thank God for waking up today. Let's make it a good day. Let's try to be better. You pray for your family, your friends, maybe somebody who's sick, all those it's a lot of stuff going on, right? Everybody has it. You got it, I got it, everybody's got it. And then I walk in here and it's like the world has come to an end. We'll get to that in a second. Look who's back. A proud graduate.
Proud graduate.
The University of Alabama.
Yes, sir.
Jacob Tissick, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's nice to have you back, and you're back regularly now,
back
right?
regularly now.
Okay, you
As
interned
Casey
with us
said,
last summer.
For the foreseeable future, I'll be here, yes.
We love having you back.
I love being back.
Welcome back. And
Thank
then
you.
Jimmy Collins.
Honored to
Welcome
be here.
aboard, young man.
Thank you.
A student at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What have you been doing at Notre Dame? You're interning with us this summer.
Yeah, interning here this summer. I do a lot of work at Notre Dame with Fighting Irish Media, so they're partnered with ACC Network and ESPN, and kind of that we do a lot of like the broadcast for the every varsity sporting event pretty much.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then NDTV, which is like our student media television network, and I'm going to be vice president of that this year.
Wow.
I'm pretty excited about.
So you got to do budgets and all that kind of thing? You got to do scheduling, all that kind of thing?
I do more of the scheduling. The president does the budgets. So
Okay. All right. Well,
I
good luck on that. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
It's great to have you with us.
I got a question. Just a quick one. Was Rudy offsides?
Of course not.
Oh, my God.
Okay. I just wanted to check. I just want to make
He got the perfect jump.
Yeah, okay. I was just making sure.
The walk-on got the perfect jump.
Oh, my God. And somebody made the comment, Everett makes a comment, finally Reed has a shorts rival.
Oh, no.
Right out of the gate.
Oh,
Spare no one. Spare no one. All right, look, let's get to all this, okay? Let's be honest. Things are not good. Would you agree with that, Elliot? They are not good.
I'd agree.
Okay. To be fair, you have to start with the injuries, okay? This is not the team that many of us had high expectations for going into the season. Yeah, but be honest now, okay? No McLean, no Marte, practically no Friedel. Encarnacion Strand's not been healthy. Those are important players on this team, and not just swinging the bat, but for many different reasons, right? But doesn't every team suffer through injuries? The Dodgers have gone through this season so far basically at most of the time without 3/5, if not 2/5, of their starting rotation, and they're still rolling, right? They made it 3 straight over the Reds yesterday, winning 3-2 in the bottom of the 10th inning on a Shohei Ohtani base hit. The Reds played 10 games on their West Coast swing. How many did they win? 3. They have lost 18 of their last 23 games. They are 9 games under 500. That's the worst they've been since that 100-loss fiasco in 2022. Now, is it going to get better? We're going to talk a lot about that shortly. Look, I still maintain there's reason for optimism because of the starting pitching. It's been that good. And Hunter Green, I got to give it up to the dude. He may not be there quite yet, but this guy's right on the brink of becoming a stud. I don't know why they don't score for this guy. Bad luck for him. Casey, you brought that up weeks ago when he started to pitch well.
Yeah.
That they never seem to get any runs. Of course, they don't get run support for anybody because banging is like the last thing that they ever do, especially when it matters.
They'll do it for Dreamweaver, though.
This team scored 34 runs total on the road trip in 10 games, 34 runs. And look, I always say all the time, it's not when you play, or it's not who you play, it's when you play them. It's not how you hit, it's when you hit that matters. And as great as a guy like Elly de la Cruz has been this season, twice yesterday had a chance to knock in the go-ahead run. Bases loaded, 1 out, whiff in the 7th. Second and third later, whiff, 2 end to inning. They score the bases loaded with nobody out. They score 1 run on a bases loaded walk to Spencer Steer. Another guy who can't buy a hit. What in the hell has happened to him? Again, we're getting into all this later. Team is 8.5 games out of first, dead last in the Central. Is the season over? I say no, it's not. We'll hear everybody else's opinion a little bit later on, right? It's only May the 20th. Cincinnati opens a 9-game homestand tomorrow night. The San Diego Padres come to town, and guess who's rolling in next weekend? The Dodgers, starting on Friday night. All right, on to the NBA playoffs. I don't know if anybody's watching. And look, we've talked about this. I don't watch during the regular season, but the playoffs, they're a different ball game, man. It's a different deal altogether. Yesterday, you had a pair of Game 7s. It started in New York, where the Pacers wipe out the Knicks, right, to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, everybody in New York screaming, oh, we were hurt. They were hurt. There's no doubt about that. Is that the reason they lost Game 6 and Game 7? Nope. Indiana shot 76% in the first half, 67% for the game. Both of those marks, by the way, the highest ever in an NBA playoff game. So we always hear how tough, New York, gritty New York. Defense is tough and gritty. The Knicks didn't do it. And their stretch of now 20-plus years without a trip to the conference final is alive and well. Then out west, Minnesota. One time in 20 years has been to a conference final, 20 years ago until now. That game was unbelievable. I mean, at one point in the third quarter, Denver, the reigning NBA champs, led by 20 points. They led by 15 and a half. They're up by 20 in the third early on. And then the wheels fell off. Why? Back to what we just said a second ago, defense. They hold the Nuggets to 14 points in the third quarter. Coaching switch on how to guard the Joker, right? And all of a sudden, he looked worn out. Phenomenal player, but looked worn out. So the conference finals have the T-Wolves against Dallas. That starts Wednesday night. Eastern Conference Pacers against the top seed Boston Celtics. That starts tomorrow night. The monkey, the proverbial monkey off the back of Xander Schauffele. This guy's been a heck of a player for a long, long time. He's top 10 seemingly every weekend, but he's never won the big one. That's all in the past now. He drills a major league clutch putt on 18, the final hole, to beat Bryson DeChambeau by 1 stroke and win his first ever major as he takes the PGA Championship down in Louisville. His final total was the lowest score in a major event ever. I think it's nice to see a guy who's never won the big one.
Yeah.
Finally get it. He seems like a decent dude. He blew off my son for an autograph.
Oh,
so,
no.
I mean,
How dare he?
my son is just, pounding this guy.
Well, let me say this.
All the time.
That guy was locked in from the second this tournament. I know the reporter asked him, it went a little bit viral on X.com. They asked him, hey, what's it going to be like for you, for your family to win a major, your very first major? And he's like, it's just a result. It's just a result. And some of those guys, I'm sure they're coached up by therapists or whoever's dealing with them that say that's got to be your mindset. You got to come into these events thinking it's not the end-all, be-all. Even if you come in second, come in fifth, come in 20th. Doesn't really matter. You're just trying to get through each tournament, trying to do your best. And that's what he did, and he was successful. I didn't think he was going to make that putt. I did think he was going to choke that away.
Yeah.
and in part because I had a little bit of money on Bryson DeChambeau. But
In part.
in large part. But that's okay. He came up clutch. Listen, good for Xander, good for Xander, good for Xander.
And one thing I failed to mention, and I don't want to fail to mention, without a doubt, Casey, you are the resident expert. You know, my neighbor,
Pat Noonan.
Pat Noonan. He's got it going on, man.
Oh, yeah. He's got a good roster.
I really wonder, and you tell me, they are not as talented. Tell me if this is true or not.
Okay.
And I'm talking about FC Cincinnati. They just keep rolling, man. They played Wednesday night. They played Saturday night against St. Louis. Just hammered them, 3-1 the final, dominated the game, right?
Right.
I mean, they are not as talented as last year. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
Ooh, not as
Or
talented.
as experienced as last year?
I think that they have traded in talent for different areas. Like they try to buff up their defense with Miles Robinson now in the backfield. That's the best defense probably in the entire league.
Oh, I thought last year they had the best defense in the league.
Well, they did, but they made it even better. They just went over the top. And they sacrificed some of the offensive power, right? And we saw that struggle early on in that season.
Yep.
This season, I should say. Now with Kelsey being in this lineup.
Kevin Kelsey.
I mean, it's night and day. I said on this show, we need a guy more young that can develop, that can just develop it and bring that firepower, and look what's happened. I mean, they've literally exploded back on the field. Acosta looks like he's back in his MVP form again.
Yep.
The team always starts a little slow anyways, but now it's like the wheels are just
Well, this
rolling.
guy must be a hell of a coach. I almost knocked on his door yesterday. I was out walking the dogs, my wife and I, and but, you leave the guy alone. But he must be a hell of a coach.
The only goal they gave up was an own goal on a silly communication mistake.
I mean, he must be a hell of a coach because they lost some key pieces to that team, and he has got them, after a slow start, he has got them rolling, man. I mean, rolling. Okay, let's get to the Reds.
It's your guy.
Well, look, you guys maintain, and Jacob, I'm going to start with you because you've been gone finishing up college, but you're still following the Reds hardcore.
Of course.
Now, I know where Elliott stands. I think I know where Casey stands. Are you phoning it in this season, DUN done?
I'd like to not be on May 20th, but it's getting harder and harder to watch them every day. I mean, they're just not scoring runs. They're not being competitive. The starting pitching has been out of this world, and we're giving them no help offensively. It's a tough brand of baseball to watch, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't watch a game a couple nights ago. I didn't watch the late game out in LA because I couldn't do it again. I felt like this team was just going to get blown out, and sure enough, I woke up and checked the score, and they did. They lost. They didn't even score a run. So it seems like maybe not phoning it in, but I think I'm going to take a break here for a little bit. Maybe take a breather, and I think the Reds maybe should too. Clear their mind, and then attack it a little different at some point.
I just wonder, Elliot, where are they going to go? Because here's the problem. and I'm not saying this in a mean way.
No.
I'm saying it in that they are forced, because of injuries, right, to play a guy who wouldn't be their everyday center fielder, to play a guy who wouldn't be their everyday third baseman, to play a guy who wouldn't be their everyday shortstop, to play somebody who wouldn't be their everyday first baseman / DH. That's 4 of the 8 positions. And look, God bless these guys that they're putting in there, and they're doing the best they can. But the question is, what are you supposed to do right now to make it better? Seriously.
The only answer for you is that you go out and you sign somebody. But at this point, you're so far in the hole, you're missing so many guys, that signing one guy does nothing at this point. It doesn't do nothing, I should say. It doesn't do nothing. But it doesn't help a lot. It doesn't fit. It's like putting a Band-Aid on an axe wound. It's not really going to help you out at all. It might stop a little bit of blood, but you're still going to bleed out and die. And that's where this team is. I mean, you know me. I'm a negative guy. They're second last in batting average.
Yep.
They're third last in on-base percentage. They're 20th in runs, 20th in home runs, 27th in slugging percentage. They're not good. They're not good, and that's a shame because of how good the pitching has been.
Yes.
Starting pitching has been unbelievable. But you asked me, how can you fix the offense? The answer is you unfortunately can't. And we'll get into the Elly De La Cruzes of the world and how he struck out in key moments yesterday. But if you need one guy to be the only guy that can bring home a run, you're in serious trouble. Serious trouble. The second best hitter on the team, Tyler Stevenson, he doesn't play every day. So
See,
now
that's a legitimate gripe that I think you can have with David Bell right now.
I agree.
That's a legitimate gripe. You can complain about the makeup of the lineup, and you complain about, you gave Elly De La Cruz a day off, they lose again. Yeah, all those things, I get it. That's part of the gig of being a major league manager. And it goes on in every city. Even when teams are winning, it goes on. Fans are bitching about the lineup that day, right? But you only have one guy right now that you can say is actually swinging a good bat. De La Cruz will have his monster games like he did on, when was that? Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
4 hits, 4 stolen bases, 4 runs batted in. I mean, stupid stuff. It's so good. But then the next day he goes 0 for 4 and punches out 3 times, and that happens to everybody. He's a young guy, that's fine. But the only guy who is really swinging a good bat right now, although Espinal actually has been swinging it easy, but it's Tyler Stevens, right? And even the days he doesn't catch and you're going to put Maley in there, that's fine. But he's got to be your DH, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was just going to add on. Tom, you've called a lot of games for the Reds. You've been with the Reds a long time, and I'm trying to think of some of the worst lineups I've seen.
Yes.
In yesterday's lineup, I'm going to read through this entire lineup, so bear with me. Will Benson leadoff. Will Benson leads the league in strikeouts. He's batting .200. Elly De La Cruz at second. Love that. Good. Mike Ford, who literally can't hit and he can't run. Mike Ford's third, DHing.
Yeah.
Jamir Candelario fourth. He's been hitting the ball better. I agree.
But still, at the end of the day, huge
correct.
Disappointment.
Correct. Jake Fraley hasn't had a home run or an extra base hit, and I think it's been a month. I think it's been a month the last time Jake Fraley had an extra base hit. You have Jonathan India. Respectfully, his OPS can't get any worse. He's batting, sixth. And the 7, 8, 9, Stuart Fairchild, Santiago Espinal, and Luke Maley. Luke Maley, who I think is hitting below 100. That's the lineup. And you say, how can it get better? Don't field that lineup, because that's the worst lineup in baseball. That's the worst line. And we can say Santiago Espinal, sure, he has been hitting the ball a little bit better.
He has been hitting the ball better.
In fact, he's probably been the clutchest player over the past week.
No doubt about it.
He's been putting the ball in play.
Yep.
He gives you a chance. He's hitting .210. So at the end of the day, I look at this lineup. Can you fix it? Can you sign 7 free agents that replace every one of these guys? And the answer is no. So we have to sit here and we have to wait and think about how this lineup's going to get better. It's not going to get better. It's not. If you're playing Stuart Fairchild, Santiago Espinal, and Luke Maley more times than you're not, you're in. I won't say deep SHI whatever, but you're in big trouble here. So no, what is the outlook? Can they get better? The answer for me is no, unfortunately.
By the way, I know. Believe me, I know what you were saying about Fraley. He got credit for a triple the other night, but that was not a triple. That was a misplay in right field. I mean, just a disaster by the outfielder. That should have been a single to right field, and the guy botched the play, and they scored it a triple. So he has an extra base hit. But I know what you're saying. He's not hitting the ball in the seats.
No.
And not even finding gaps. And I don't want to just pick on him because the whole team.
Fraley in his last 7 games, he has 3 hits and 23 at-bats.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a 130
but he's
average.
right in line with the rest of them. He's right in line with the rest of them. There's just nothing, though, and this is where I want to get into the whole thing about, about managers. And I rarely ever talk about David Bell in this program. To me, who cares?
I agree.
But I will say, and Jimmy, you've seen a lot of baseball. I mean, I feel for the guy. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not like a ton you can do like when they're just not hitting, because the pitchers are going out every day, pitching their butts off, putting your team in a position to be in a game late, because if you're not pitching, you're not going to be in the game at all. And their starting pitchers like Hunter Green are going out there and keeping this team in a game late, down a couple runs, maybe
Yep.
even tied with the
Yep.
Dodgers going into extras, and the team's just not hitting. Like the league average OPS this year is a tad under 700, and the Reds have 3 guys with an OPS over 700, which is like, when are guys gonna get on base? Like,
Yeah.
there's guys that they will, like Jamer, who's gotten a little bit better as the season has gone
He has
along.
been.
But at some point, you're going to need every single guy in the lineup to get better at the same time to really start putting wins together.
seems unlikely.
Go ahead, because I want to check something here. So go ahead, Elliot.
You talk about David Bell, and my favorite part is the hypocrisy of it all. We talk about how good the starting pitching and how good the bullpen's been. David Bell, any credit there? Nah, those are just guys doing their job. But when they're not doing their job on the offensive side of the baseball, now it's David Bell's fault. David Bell, I guess, is responsible for picking up a stick, standing on home plate, and trying to swing. That's David Bell's responsibility now. Doesn't get any credit for the pitching, all the blame for the hitting, and vice versa. He'll just never get credit, and that's fine. I agree with it to a set. I don't think the manager in Major League Baseball means as much as it did 25 years ago. I don't think it does. When you have guys like Skip Schumacher, all due respect, managing baseball teams, it's probably not as big of a role as you think it is. I think managers matter to a certain degree. I think guys like Bruce Bochy, Dusty Baker, I think those old-timey managers, those guys proved that they do that they do matter. But David Bell, what can he do? He can't go sign a free agent. He can't go pluck somebody from AAA because they've got the rest. What do you have? 4 AAA players now? He's doing what he can do.
That's right.
The only knock is like what you said is Tyler Stevens should be playing every day.
Well, the other thing about it is, and again, I was around baseball a long time, man, day in and day out, 30 years. And you try to learn from different guys, and Lord knows I've seen 1,000 different managers and the way they go about their business, whatever it is. I found it interesting, though, that the comment by Emilio Pagan after the game yesterday, one thing I think we can universally agree on, whether you like the guy or you don't like the guy as a Reds manager, okay? I don't care which side you're on. It doesn't matter. You're entitled to your opinion just like everybody else is. Doesn't make you right, me wrong, me right, you wrong. Most people feel like there is not a sense of urgency about this Reds team. There's just not and it's strange because they are a take-it-to-them kind of a team as far as a run game is concerned. Of course, you have to get on base for the run game to be effective.
Yep.
But they are an extremely, at times overly, aggressive team on the base pass. So, in theory and in reality, you think they are a team that is going to be the aggressor. But the sort of mood that I think the tenor of the clubhouse, and Pagan said this, not me. So, this isn't Tom Brenneman's opinion on this deal. Pagan made the comment after yesterday's game, we've had a lot of guys who have been good players somewhere else, or a lot of guys that have been good players here. But we need to start playing with a sense of urgency. That's the first time I've heard anybody in that clubhouse. Now, he went on to say all the right things. But that line has to mean something. Something is missing. And he just hit the nail on the head, right?
Yeah, especially from a guy like Emilio Pagan, who I know at least personally, he wouldn't have been high on my list of guys I expected to speak out and take a leadership role in the locker room. So for him to come out and say that, that A, it's a clear problem to the players as well, and B, that makes me think of what are the other leaders doing? Who else is in the locker room saying anything like that? Exactly. The guys that we expect to be leaders, like Jonathan India, or we want Elly De La Cruz to step into that role, are they not doing that? Are they not speaking up if a guy like Emilio Pagan, who's been here for 40 games, thinks that he needs to come out and say something like that? Which I love that he did, and I love that sentiment and him taking control, but where are the guys that are supposed to be in that role?
The starting pitching, it is so much better than I thought it was going to be. I knew the potential was there, but man, these guys, even Ashcraft the other night, he didn't have it. He found a way to keep you in there.
Yeah.
He didn't have it. He's not had it really for 2 straight starts, and he finds a way to just keep you in there. Abbott, you can't ask any more from him. You can't. Green, turning into a stud. Lodolo hurt again, which we didn't get into that.
Yep.
I mean, does it ever end?
No.
I mean, does it ever end?
It doesn't. The one thing optimistic Reds fans keep pointing to is that the bats can't be hitting 210 all year long.
That's right.
They're going to find level. That's great. That's awesome. What happens when the pitching finds level?
You're
Because
right.
the Reds are not going to have the second and third best starting pitcher ERA at the end of this year. And they're also not going to be hitting 210, but where is that middle ground? Because if the pitching comes down faster than the bats come up, this is going to get even uglier than 3-14, which doesn't sound possible, but it will.
Well, I don't know what the guy is supposed to do. Andrew says he's another Marvin Lewis type. No one accountable. You don't get a lot of words with no actual you get a lot of words without real substance in his post-game press conferences. Fred makes a comment. Ron Washington, manager of the Angels, says he'd be cooking this team on a nightly basis after a game. But I actually feel for Bell on this deal because, they had all this talent. They didn't want to make any moves last year, and I made the comment at the time. And I still have not thrown in the towel this year. So let me go on record as saying I'm not throwing in the towel yet. Not yet. They're not, they're sort of sneaking up on the door, but they're not at the doorstep of that, for me, yet. But, man, there's nothing David Bell can do. You just got to ask these guys to go out and continue to compete and see what you got and try to win some games. You got a lot of home games coming up. I don't buy into. I've never bought into this whole thing about the schedule's going to lighten up. Really? You just played San Diego. They kicked your tail, right? Right? You just played the Dodgers. They beat you 3 out of 4. And then people look down their nose at the Cardinals. It's like I said last week about the Pirates. When you're looking up at somebody in the standings, don't ever look down on them like we're getting a break in the schedule.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals stink. Have you seen their run differential this year? For them to be ahead of the Reds in the standings is almost impossible. They've scored 25 fewer runs. They've given up 20 more runs, and they have a better record than the Reds. They've scored 20-something fewer runs than this offense we're watching every night.
Yeah, there was one easy stretch in the schedule. There's one, and it's right before the All-Star break where they play Detroit, Colorado, Miami, and then Washington out of the break. That's the only part of the schedule that's somewhat easy. The rest of it is, I would say, pretty damn difficult. So, you asked me what the solution is. At this point, I don't see a way out of this. Is the season over? No, not mathematically. But do you think it's going to get better, Tom, realistically? You think that Santiago Espinal, Luke Maile, Jacob Hurtubise is going to carry us to the light? No. The answer is no. You can say what you want over there. The answer is no. Everybody can say whatever they want, and we can try to be optimistic. Oh, everything's going to be great. But towards the end of the year, we can go on another 13-game winning streak. Unlikely. And that's the only thing that would save this team at this point.
Okay, enough about the Reds. I want to hit real quick on the NBA. And again, I don't know. Are you guys watching it?
I watched last night.
Yeah.
You're watching?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I don't follow it a ton in the regular season, as I said a little while ago. If someone would have said to you, forget when the playoffs started, if someone would have said to you when the season began, right, Jacob, you're a big NBA guy. If somebody would have said Mavericks v. T-Wolves, Boston v. Indiana. What do you think the odds are on that being the Final Four in the NBA?
Indiana, certainly a big shock. They went on a run to start the year that was amazing. They finished second in the in-season tournament to LeBron and the Lakers. Tyrese Halliburton was averaging over 25 points. And then for about a 4-month stretch, he averaged, I think, 12. So the Pacers fell off the face of the earth in the middle of the season, and everyone kind of phoned it in. And then, obviously, Knicks' injuries, like you said earlier, kind of bolstered their way to the finals. But in the West, I think when you look at the team names, the Mavericks and the Timberwolves, it might be a little bit shocking at first. But when you look deeper into their rosters, these are two really, really good teams. I mean, Kyrie Irving has been there and done it before.
Yep.
Luka Doncic, we know how good he is with the ball in his hands. And the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards has taken the country by storm in the last couple months.
Yep.
An absolute superstar. And the way they've been able to use Karl Anthony Towns at the 4 and have Gobert guard the 5, I'm going to take the Timberwolves to beat the Mavericks this next series because I don't think P.J. Washington or whoever the 4 that they have is going to be able to guard Karl-Anthony Towns.
Jimmy, you're a big NBA fan. Unfortunately, you root for the worst team in the league.
I do, yeah.
You grew up in Michigan. You root for Detroit, although they have a great history.
Picking 5 again.
Can the
Shocking, I know.
Can the Pacers beat Boston?
No. I don't really think anyone can beat Boston.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what they always say.
That is true. But, I mean, the Boston's odds going into the series are like minus 1,000. They're like, in terms of games, but they're like 2.5 game favorites at like minus 150. So Vegas isn't really giving them a chance. And I do think that Indiana benefited a little bit off the fact that the Knicks were very injured. But I'm not going to discredit going into the Garden and winning in Game 7 because I didn't think they were going to do that, and I was very happy they did. But
So that means you had money on it.
no, I did not.
Okay.
I just don't like the Knicks.
Okay. All right. Okay. Because every time I ask you young guys now about anything,
That's not true. That's not true. That's not
It all
true.
comes down to gambling.
No.
That's not true.
Did you have action yesterday on either one of those games? Yay or nay?
I took the Nuggets to win the series when they were down 2-0, and
That was
did.
tough.
That was
Listen,
a tough one.
I
It
will
was
say, I
close.
will say regarding the Nuggets, I was talking to a buddy yesterday. Is there been a bigger discrepancy with the best player in the world compared to the rest of the guys? I think Jokic is the best player, and
No
it's,
doubt about
it's
it.
not even remotely
Even in a
close.
game, it didn't seem like he played well. He goes 30 and 20.
Ant is the only guy that's kind of picking up the rear. But I would say outside of that, like if he's not on, that team, when I say they have 0% chance, they have a -% chance to win games without him. And I was watching it yesterday. He was being forced to chuck, I think he shot 10 threes. He made 2 of them in the fourth quarter, which were big. But my God, I've never seen a team like that. And also, I want to talk about my guy Thibodeau real quick. Thibodeau on paper, great coach. Saying that, he is the living example of when you run your guys into the dirt every single night, it's probably not going to work by the time you get to the end of the season. And then again, they collapse. They're all banged up. Brunson's hobbling. OG, he's hobbling. Everybody's hobbling because they have to play 43 minutes a game. It's just absurd. But shout out to the Pacers. I like the Pacers. I think Tyrese hasn't had a great postseason.
He had a great back half of that first series, and then he did kind of fall off.
Yeah.
He's been their
That-
third leading. Tyrese
Well,
Halliburton.
who?
Halliburton for the
Oh,
Pacers
yeah,
has been their third leading scorer. After
But
the
I mean,
beginning of the year,
well, you live where we live. Aren't you rooting for Indiana?
Oh, I'm fully a Pacers
Big time.
fan.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, why would you root for Minnesota or
Well, why would you root for
Dallas
Boston?
or certainly Boston?
No, I'm not rooting for Boston.
Who are you rooting for, Casey?
I've been a huge fan of Luka Doncic ever since he came up to the NBA.
What is it with you in Dallas?
Yeah.
That's not me in Dallas.
Yeah,
It
what
is.
it?
You
What
talk
is it?
about the stars.
Yeah,
That's
he's a big
no,
Stars
no,
fan.
Tom. I'm an Avalanche fan.
Oh, that's right. I got your. My bad.
The other
You're
guys
right.
in this
You're
room
right.
are Stars fans.
That's right.
It's tough.
So you're rooting for Dallas.
I
Mark Cuban.
I'm actually rooting for the Timberwolves just so my take is right because I'm not really a big NBA guy. I like the Timberwolves. I've said whoever won the Nuggets-Timberwolves series was going to win the NBA Finals. So I'm kind of rooting for the Timberwolves just so I can be right. But other than that, I guess I like Luka Doncic. So those are the two teams I
So
would like.
you
but they're-
really don't care.
Western Conference Casey over there.
Yeah,
what they call him.
I'm
That's what
basically
they call
rooting
him.
for the West.
I tell you what, the Indiana coach, and I'm the only guy old enough in this room to remember watching him play. Carlisle is a coach now. That dude is a big-time coach, and he was one hell of a player, man. I mean, a lot like he coaches. He was tough. He played hard. University of Virginia guy, if I remember right. I mean, tough guy, and played for quite a while, and he is an outstanding coach.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite coaches in the entire league. I was stoked when he came over from Dallas to Indiana. He talked about, Jalen Brunson had his way with the Pacers that
Yep.
last series, but he talked about after the series how much it helped him having coached Brunson in Dallas, how big of a difference that made where they could kind of let him get his and kind of eliminate everyone else, which is the route they went to win that series. So it obviously paid off. And I think that's been the biggest difference for this Pacers team versus the Pacers teams of relatively recently in the past. Because this roster hasn't seen much change. They traded for Pascal Siakam, who's a fringe all-star at the deadline this year. But other than that, this team's basically the same team that's been there forever. Halliburton's been there for going on 3 years now. Miles Turner's been their center for almost a decade. these guys aren't superstar big names, and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. So
I think it's going to be fun because look, Boston's a better team, but there's something missing with that Boston team. There's a reason why they haven't won the whole thing.
Yep.
And they have all this talent, and they have there's something there and maybe this year is their year. But for me, I watch them, especially in the big moments, big games. They never deliver the goods. But we'll see.
Kristaps Porzingis out as well. He is not. He's not going to. They said maybe later in the series if it goes a little longer, that'll be a big difference.
I think they're beatable.
I'd say so for sure.
I think they're beatable. I really do. Okay, before we get out of here, and we've got Off the Bench coming up in about 9 minutes. Is it better for Chatterbox for this program to immediately butt up next to Off the Bench, or do we need like about a 3, 4, 5 minute breather? What's better?
It would be better if it was butt up right up against it so we can send the viewers over to Off the Bench.
Okay. Well, there are going to be a lot of people watching Off the Bench today. We're just building up this program because we've only been on for a few weeks at this time. So we're coming your way every Monday, 9:15. That'll be fun once we get especially into football season. Getting fired up for the Buckeyes, man.
I'm praying for the football season to get here.
Getting fired up, brother. They are loaded. Hey, by the way, speaking of football, what's the reaction in Alabama? Saban gone, new guy comes in who looks like he's on it, right?
Yep.
DeBoer, is that his name?
Yep, Kalen DeBoer.
Okay, what's the reaction down there from a local? You're a local.
Overwhelming, happy, excited, everything. He's checking every box. When he came in, he doesn't lose games. That's kind of his whole thing. He, takes Washington to the championship game last year. He was the offensive coordinator at Indiana in 2020 when they had that great team with Michael Penix. And when he coached at Sioux Falls, he led them to the Division II championship. So he doesn't lose anywhere he's been. The main worry was that he had never been to the South. He had never recruited the South. How was he going to go up against Kirby Smart and guys like that down there? Well, the top 3 players in Alabama have committed to him so far since he took the job. So he's doing a great job there. I think it's going to come down to Alabama fans realizing that he's not Nick Saban. Maybe we don't win 3 national championships in the next 5 years,
well, and
that's okay.
Yeah.
You can't run him out of the building if he goes 9-3 this year, losing to Georgia and Tennessee and Auburn's a little bit of a stretch. You can't lose to Auburn, but losing 3 games against ranked teams, I don't want to run him out of the building or anything like that, which is a little bit of my worry with how rabid that fan base is down there. But as of right now, people really love him, and the offense is looking really, really exciting.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe they can get Satterfield if that doesn't work out.
Maybe.
Maybe Satterfield can come in and clean up that program.
4.5 over/under win total for the fighting Bearcat. You're fighting Bearcats.
Tom, responsibly, put your mortgage on the under. Put it all. That team's not winning 5 games. Not even close. Is it? By the way, is it a make or break
Dude,
year?
The Oklahomas and the Texases of the world are out of that conference now.
Yeah,
you got some pretty good teams coming in.
I know. That's why it's going to be even more embarrassing when you lose to Miami for the second straight year.
Arizona State stinks, and Arizona's pretty damn good.
Arizona, watch out.
Yeah.
I think top 10 team this year.
Look out.
Maybe. If Ryan Day doesn't beat Michigan this year, is he fired?
DUN.
Done. What if they
Urban? Bring back Urban, leader of men.
What if Michigan's the only loss and they would go on to win the national championship?
He could go
Ryan Day. Here's the contract. Just sign it.
He's 56-8.
Yeah, I know.
As a head coach.
Come on. I mean, Elliott and these guys are always stirring it up.
What are we talking about?
I'm all in on
the other half.
I'm good with
playoff
Ryan
games.
Day. I'm totally good. And we're going to the college football playoff. 12 teams this year.
Big.
That's big.
I'm really worried, though. We'll get into this another time. We have more time. I really am worried, though, about, and maybe I shouldn't be, but, I think conferences like the Pac-12 and the Atlantic Coast Conference, I think these are good things. These are good conferences. I have a hard time understanding how Oregon, well, I understand it because it's money, but I just have a hard time understanding how Oregon and Washington are in the Big Ten. I have a hard time understanding, we were talking about before the show, how Stanford and Cal and SMU are now in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And because of the disparity in money that the schools are making, Big Ten, SEC compared to everybody else. And we could be winding down on the last couple of years of having those great rivalries that actually still mean something. And they do mean something. They still mean something in the Big Ten. But now instead of, outside of your main rival, Ohio State v. Michigan, instead of Ohio State playing, Michigan State, now they're going to be playing fill in the blank. I just, I don't know. But we'll get into that another time. All right. Real quick prediction from everybody. We're down to our final 3 minutes. Evan Maurer says that American flag is oversized. There's no such thing as an oversized American flag.
That's right, Tom.
There's no such thing.
That's right.
This is the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world. Evan, don't fall into all this nonsense that those on the other side are trying to lead you to believe.
Please.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Evan says, I know. He said it 3 times. All right. Everett says, can't wait to see Ohio State play Michigan 2 or 3 times a year. That's a good point. That's another one of the things that stinks about this conference.
Back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, it could happen, although, Oregon and some other teams will have something to say about it. All right. Reds are coming home for 9 before we get out of here. Reds are coming home for 9.
Don't make us do
You've
this.
got 3 against the Padres. You've got 3 against the Dodgers. 3 and 3 is 6, if my Ohio University math is correct. And then you have 3 or 4 against the Cardinals. It's
3.
a 3. Okay, so it's a 9-game homestand. Casey, we begin with you. Their record on this 9-game homestand will be
4-5. Being optimistic.
That is very optimistic.
Toe in the line.
Good for you.
4-5.
So let's go. Loss, win, loss. That's 1-8.
Oh, come on.
They're 3-14 for the month. You want me to predict?
With the Padres and the Cardinals who are under 500
The
coming in.
Padres are 500. Give them some
Okay,
respect.
fine.
They also play the Dodgers half the time. So, yeah, what do you want me to say? You want me to say they're going to win games here? They're not winning games. They can't hit. No, 1-8.
You're really predicting 1-8.
1-8.
Well, if they go 1-8 season, do you win?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Mr. Collins, what do you think?
4-5.
4-5. Okay, that's optimistic.
I'm going 3-6. You win 1 against the Padres. You get swept by the
Jacob's
Dodgers.
on
You win 2 against the Cardinals.
3-6.
3-6.
Wow. Okay.
Jacob's on.
They've got some pitching matchups that I like
I
in
don't.
these games.
The pitching matchups are fine.
We can't
Yeah.
hit anyone.
Well, yeah. Imagine if they honestly, what they should do, what every team should do, any random fan that's somewhat left-handed, put them in the game, and there's
Well, I was getting ready to
legitimately
say
zero
the same
chance.
thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, outside of that left-hander that the Dodgers brought in from the bullpen yesterday who was throwing 78 miles an hour, 68 miles an hour on some of the breaking balls, and they managed to scratch out 1 run. They took that guy out, and Steer got a bases-loaded walk.
Yeah.
Before Elly whiffed, and I think, Ford pop up or something?
Yeah.
Ground out. I can't remember what it was. Okay. I think they're going to be better than I think they're going to go 5-4.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
I
That's
think
the
they're
thing.
going. I
That's
think they're
you're
going to
putting
beat.
on.
I think they're going to beat the Padres 2 out of 3, and I think they're going to beat the Cardinals 2 out of 3. So there's 4, and I think they win 1 of 3 against the Dodgers.
Okay.
Call me Mr.
Yamamoto's going to throw a perfect.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
that's-
we are not going to. No bat is going to touch a ball when Yamamoto's on the mound here.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Stranger things have happened. All right, we got to get out of here. We got off the bench coming up. Trace Fowler's in a great mood today after watching the Reds, staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning all weekend.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Gentlemen, great being with you. Welcome aboard. Jimmy, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, Jake. All right. Elliot, Casey, as always, thanks. Thank all of you. We'll look forward to seeing you on Friday at high noon. Have a great rest of your day. And off the bench, coming up now.
starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Well, hello and welcome in. Look at this. Look at this. It's a beautiful little Monday here in Hamilton, Ohio. Put on some sunscreen, stay hydrated. It's going to be 90 degrees, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I feel great. You should feel great, too. I was thrown in here last second. Let's rock and roll, baby. Welcome to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Reed Mouse, and it's going to be it's going to be a team effort today. We're not going to be like the Carmelo Anthony New York Knicks. We're going to be like the Jalen Brunson New York Knicks, where it's going to be a lot of Villanova. Be a Villanova guy today. Not a Syracuse guy.
That's right.
Be a Villanova guy. So here's what we're going to get into. Before we start the show, I like to go in here and do a little rants from time to time. And one thing that I didn't get to talk about last week on the show is because I've been running around. I've been had to go to a family wedding last week in Hilton Head, by the way. That's your place of vacation. It's a nice little area.
You like it?
Nice little area.
Did you go to the Salty Dog?
I did go to the Salty Dog.
Yes.
Went to Harbortown. Did all these things. Listen.
I kept telling Reed to go to Harbortown. He's like, I don't want to play golf. It's like it's more than a golf course. It's the whole town.
Well, I don't know that.
Well, I told you that though.
Let's not act like it's like a whole. It's literally like a little plaza.
It's a little cove. Yeah.
It's a little plaza.
It's a little cove.
It's a little plaza. Yeah, it was fantastic. I drove all day yesterday, and I got back. I'm so tired of not being home, if I'm being honest. But so I like to start the show off with a little bit of a monologue. And that's what I'm going to do here today. One thing that happened last week in the world of the National Football League is Jared Goff. This is old news, but I want to talk about what it means to the Cincinnati Bengals is Jared Goff's contract. He signs for $212 million. He gets the second highest average per year value at $53 million. I think that here in Cincinnati, we can all agree on a few things. And one, I think a lot of people would, maybe not the haters, but it seems pretty evident that a guy like Joe Burrow, who is the highest paid guy in the National Football League, is better than Jared Goff. I think that's pretty safe. If you got one guy going into a game, you say, hey, I can take Jared Goff or Joe Burrow, you'd be silly to take Jared Goff. Now, I know he's on the field a lot more. I get that. Joe Burrow's contract means nothing if he's off the field. But this is something that we talked about when Joe Burrow signed his contract, and it's showing its hand already here in year 2, is that if he's on the field, if these guys play through their contract, just like with the Patrick Mahomes, he signed the biggest contract in NFL history. Now it looks like a steal. Now you're getting him. He's not even a top 5 quarterback in the league. We talk about this with Elly de la Cruz. If you can sign him for a 10-year, $300 million deal, and he plays like you expect Elly de la Cruz, in 6 years, who knows what the going rate for a superstar shortstop is? Could be 50. You could be getting a steal, and that's the point. That's the point. Joe Burrow's contract, and I fully believe this. We talk about hope. We talk about aspirations. We talk about all these things. Because of Jared Goff getting the second highest per year contract in the second year, and people are going to pass Joe Burrow in the coming years, coming weeks. I don't know when the next contract is going to surpass him. It was an arms race, like the USSR versus the USA in the Cold War last year. Who's going to have the highest quarterback contract? Turned out it was our homeboy, Joe Burrow. But at the end of his contract, if he does the thing that we are all somewhat worried about, which is stay on the field and stay healthy, this contract is going to be the biggest steal in the National Football League. Just like Patrick Mahomes getting, $50 million just 4 years ago? How could you pay a quarterback this much? There's a little thing called inflation, right? It's a little thing that time goes on. Kevin Brown in the late 90s getting $100 million. Now if you get a guy that pitched as well as Kevin Brown did, that's a steal. These contracts keep going up, and if he stays on the field, there's no doubt in my mind that we're not talking about Joe Burrow's contract and how big it is. We're talking about how cheap we got him for. All right, I'll pass it around now. Casey McCollister, Elly Rearing in the room. And we got two guys over here. New Jacob.
How are you, Reed?
Jacob, look at that flow. This guy graduates from Alabama and comes in looking like the handsome devil that he is. Then we got Jimmy Collins. Jimmy, nice to meet you.
Excited to be here. Nice to meet you.
I'll tell you what, Jimmy. Your name's Jimmy Collins.
It is.
You went to Notre Dame.
Oh. JC?
I want to call him Jimmy Clausen so bad.
Oh. I was going the different route. I was going JC. Yeah. I'm going to call him Big JC at that Catholic institution that is Notre Dame.
But Jimmy Clausen, I've almost called you Jimmy Clausen like 3 times since I met you about 45 minutes ago. So
Thanks
I
for putting that
apologize
in
if
my
I
head.
ever call you Jimmy Clausen.
It would make sense.
Yeah, it adds up. Notre Dame, Jimmy C. And it's nice to have you in here. Where are you from?
I'm from Metro Detroit.
Metro Detroit. And you're down here, obviously interning with us.
Yep.
The Big Apple.
The city that never brotherly sleeps.
City by the bay.
The city that never brotherly sleeps. So it's nice to have you here, Jimmy.
I'm very excited.
And I'm so excited to have Jacob back. Jacob,
great
how
to
was
be
your
back.
senior year at Alabama?
It was great. It was great. Yeah, a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of classes, and now we're back and ready to go.
Wow, it's just good to see you back in this room.
Reed, you want to read that super chat first, Jimmy?
I'm not even on our YouTube.
Oh.
I'm not sure if you can read it for me.
Well,
I can read it since
Yeah,
I was
please.
a film student
Please
for
do.
4 years.
Please do.
As a 4-year film student in Alabama, Drew Garrison puts a super chat in. Jimmy, what do you think about Brian Kelly killing that kid, throwing him up in the tower with the high wind speeds?
I don't have any thoughts on that.
No comment.
Yeah, it's probably
Did
smart.
you ever have to film practice? Film a football practice? Did Marcus Freeman ever say like, hey, there's a high stanchion over there? You gotta
Yeah,
look
no,
up
I have never filmed a football practice. Luckily,
Yeah, it's good for you.
we built the new football practice facility that is now indoors, so they do a lot of work in there.
It seems like a good place to have an indoor
Yeah.
facility
You would think,
in
yeah.
South Bend, Indiana. It's pretty far up there.
Do they still have the room where Rudy slept in, like in that janitor's closet? Like, do they still have that there?
They still have, I'm assuming so, they still have all the,
Okay.
like when the movie was filmed, it was
Yeah.
all the brick.
Yeah.
And now, like, they've built off of it, so when you walk in, you still walk into the brick. So
Okay.
you're walking into the stadium and then walking in through what that would
Yeah.
be, so I'm assuming that's still there.
And by the way, Jimmy, I just want you to let you know for your first week here, I'm only going to keep mentioning Rudy. So that's going to be your shtick for
What's
going
funny
forward.
about Rudy is I saw that movie for the first time when I was about 8 years old. I thought that there could not be a better movie made. That was the pinnacle of cinema.
It's the best sports movie of all time.
Do you believe that still
No.
to this day?
No.
Okay.
But it
Because
was.
it might be. It's really
No,
good.
it's not.
It's really good.
Come on.
Best Vince Vaughn cameo?
Yeah, that is the best. That's his first acting role. That was his very
Vince
first
Vaughn?
acting role. People forget about that, yeah.
Yeah. It's actually because it doesn't look like Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Like it's not how you. I mean, you see a tall guy, but like even like you see his face, you're like that doesn't look like Vince Vaughn.
My favorite part of that movie is like how Reed ruins my time with Moneyball. He says the whole thing's not real. Here's some fun facts about Rudy. When they start chanting his name on the sideline, that didn't happen. When they all walked into the coach's office and handed the jerseys, that didn't happen.
Did your high school? I remember when I was in high school, our head football coach, he was our health teacher. He played Rudy for some reason a lot in health class. But every time he would just go, you know, they hated Rudy.
Yeah.
They just hated Rudy. He would just like, it would just be like, all right, and here's the anatomy of the human body. And did you know that they hated Rudy up at Notre Dame? Like he would just shoehorn it into every single conversation. All right, guys, we got a fun show for we are on 1410 Wing AM today.
Yes.
So we do got to take these breaks. We'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to hear what happened in the world of sports over the weekend. Stay tuned. And we are back at the home for sports in the Miami Valley. 1410 Wing AM. Reed Mouse on the mic. I wasn't supposed to. It's going to be a collaborative effort. Like I said, Villanova. That's how we're going to be today. So just put on your best. I'll be Jay Wright, I guess. And we'll get through this. Elly Rue.
Yeah.
Elly Rue, do your best to take us through the world of sports over the weekend because it is a Monday and a lot happened.
Well, I'm not going to lie. So I didn't get to type up the headlines today because I was on the other show.
I know.
So what we're going to do instead, I'm going to tell you what I saw. And if you guys have to add anything to that, you go ahead. So I watched the PGA Championship yesterday. It was in the middle of my sister's graduation. Shout out to Jane. But I found the time to put that on my phone and watch it during that 4-hour ceremony. Shout out to graduations.
How was Ada, Ohio?
It wasn't good.
You didn't like Ada?
You ever been to Ada?
I've spent a lot of nights. That I don't
Right by
remember in
Bluffton?
Ada.
Not very good.
It's about 10 minutes from where I went to college.
They've got, I think, one Subway. I think that's their big crowning
Ooh,
achievement.
you didn't go to the Regal Beagle?
No, I did not go to any. I did not see any Beagles.
You did not go to the
But
Beagle?
listen, I'm going to go through it. So the PGA Championship, Xander Schauffele wins his first ever major. That was, and I think Trace tweeted it. It was probably the best second nine from a major in the past, I don't know, 6 majors. I'm trying to think of when the last really good back nine was, with 4 guys all in contention. It was Xander, Victor, and Bryson. Each one of those guys were absolutely phenomenal. Victor couldn't make the big putts down the stretch. Bryson did make the big putts down the stretch, and Xander had the lead going into it, so he had a little bit of a buffer, and that's what won him the tournament. Bryson, I was going to ask Jacob this because he's my big golf guy in the room. Jimmy, are you a golf guy?
I'm someone.
No, it's okay. Well,
I like golf. I like golfing.
I'm just getting to know you here.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Listen, I was thinking about this. Bryson DeChambeau might have had the biggest turnaround in his public image out of any golfer on tour.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I've been a big Bryson guy
Have
for
you?
years. I have been a big Bryson guy. It was fun to hate on Bryson like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So when you don't have a whole lot of opinions about something, you just either go with the flow or you go against the flow. And I went against the flow. I went against Jacob Tissett's flow, and that's what I did.
That's what happened. NBA-wise, we talked a little bit about it on Tom's show, but obviously we have the Pacers winning the series 4-3. They won by, 21 yesterday, 130-109. You have Minnesota coming back to win that series against the Nuggets, 98-90.
What about that, by the way?
And then,
crazy.
yeah, that was
Well, they
insane.
went down. They went up 2-0, went down 3-2.
Yep.
What a great series!
Down
By the
20
way,
last
Ant
night.
Edwards.
Great series.
Ant Edwards. We're talking about this era of the NBA where we're trying to figure out who the next face is. Steph
Sure.
Curry's leaving. LeBron's on his last leg. Kevin Durant. Who's going to take over? And it didn't feel like Joker was, even though he's probably the best player, just because he doesn't seem like he likes the sport of basketball, which seems like a prerequisite to be the face of the sport. So I think Ant, and I know I'm not. I know that's the common thing. This dude is going to be the face of basketball. He trash talks. He's fun to watch. He's amazing.
I think we have a faces of basketball off this series with Luka and Ant.
Right.
Both
Luka
young stars.
could be too, right?
Luka is very exciting to watch, a lot of energy, everything like that. The other name I think I'd put up there is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think
Do you
he's
really think that, though?
up there for face of the
You
league
really
talk.
think that?
No.
Well, you don't like
SGA?
Shai?
I don't think.
Absolutely.
I don't
think
think
he's
so.
incredible. Yeah.
I think if you take him away from the Thunder, I think they'd be okay. I think they'd survive
I don't
that.
necessarily disagree with that, but the way he was growing with the Clippers before the trade,
Yeah.
I mean, he averaged 31 points this year. He didn't score below 30 at any point in this series. Certainly wasn't his fault that they lost. I know he did foul there at the end, but he played great. He stepped up in big moments. I'm a huge SGA guy. I think he's right there in the mix, too.
The Wolves are a team that I feel like old guys that don't watch the NBA can just get behind.
Yeah. They
play
right?
such great
Because they
defense.
get after you. They get after you, and it's great to watch. It is.
Rudy Gobert, who's a guy that I think a lot of the league, I don't know if they dislike, but I'm pretty sure he was voted most disliked player by the players in one of those stupid polls they do every year.
Nice.
He gave everyone COVID.
Oh yeah, that's true. He did give everybody COVID. That is true. He made a shot yesterday. I don't know if anybody was watching it. That turnaround fadeaway, Dirk knee up in his chest from almost the 3-point land. And I was like, oh my God, if that guy is not a key offensive player and he's making that shot, that team's damn good. I like the Timberwolves a lot. And by the way, shout out to the Timberwolves Brazil Twitter account. Yes. I'd argue they're the ones responsible for this magical run. I think they had to. I don't know who deleted them.
They were banned.
Yeah, they got banned.
Oh, see, now that's a shame because those were the best Twitter accounts out there, and they just never had a chance. But yeah, NBA. I'll say this: this is the first NBA postseason in a long time. It feels like where I've really cared.
Well, it's because it's mattered. Every round has mattered. During the Warriors, Cavs, the Heat, the finals were predestined. At least the conference finals were, right?
Yeah.
You know you're going to see LeBron in the finals. You know you're going to see the Warriors in the finals too. So why watch? Why watch the second round? And now for the first time ever, we're trying to figure out who the new face of the league's going to be. Who's gonna win the championship? We're gonna have a new champion. I think it's gonna be the 6th different champion in 6 years. When's the last time that's happened in any sport that's not baseball?
Yeah.
Right? It's it's incredibly interesting to watch. And Craig Sandlin, who's in the chat, keeps talking about it as we're talking about who the face of the NBA is. You need to have people that hate you just as much as you need to have people that love you. So Ant Edwards has to have people that hates him because everyone loves Ant right now. Everyone loves Ant.
Takes one win.
I think it takes
You
one
get
championship.
one ring.
One championship.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, I'm tired of Ant. I'm tired of antics.
One other thing that I want to talk about with the Timberwolves is the narrative around Rudy Gobert, like you said, how he's playing a little bit better offensively. We know he's one of the best defenders all time,
Yep.
one of 3 players to have 4 Defensive Player of the Years. If he wins a championship, where is he on an all-time kind of talk center-wise? 4 Defensive Player of the Years, you get a ring. Timberwolves are young. Timberwolves are going to probably be here for a while. He's under contract with them. If they can rattle off some deep postseason runs, he maybe gets one more Defensive Player of the Year, push him over that hump that Ben Wallace and Dikembe Mutombo had. We might be talking about Rudy Gobert as one of the best centers of all time.
Can I do my Rudy Gobert impersonation?
Oh, sure.
I've been working on this for years now. Let me set the scene first. It's like March. The world is deeply in a panic because of a new illness that's going around that is spread virally and through the air. And
Sure.
There's rumors that you have the illness. So this is my Rudy Gobert impersonation. Radio, you won't get to enjoy this, but YouTube, you will. See you guys.
It's pretty good.
One of the
it?
more
That's
preposterous moments in
Yeah.
sports of the last 10
Oh, yeah.
years, I'd say.
And it was not even 72 hours after that. 48 hours after that, I think, that they canceled the entire season.
I think it was the next night games played, but they stopped them halfway through.
Yeah.
I remember we were doing Chatterbox. We were doing
Shut down the whole league.
This was kind of like the Prometheus of Chatterboxes. We're doing high school basketball down at Centos Arena, and we're doing like our first big thing. We were just this little media company, but we're finally we're doing a full district day. And in the back of our minds, we're all just looking at our phone like, is everything going to shut down? Is everything going to shut down? I remember watching that video, and we're just like, oh, no, it's a bad look. But, hey, listen, he can lock down everyone. Apparently, he can lock down the entire world. Shout out to Rudy Gobert here. But the Timberwolves kind of changed the mold in the NBA because the Warriors made everyone small ball, right?
Right.
And the Timberwolves are going to go, no, we're gonna have everyone be 7 foot
And their
tall.
sixth man's a center, too. Nas
Right.
Reed coming off the bench. So, yeah, they love going big, and I think it's going to pose a problem for the Mavericks just like it did for the Nuggets.
Yep, there we go. Anything else?
So NHL, if you want to talk about it a little bit, we didn't have a game. We didn't have a game yesterday, but we had a game Saturday. And the Oilers they tied up the series with the Canucks. That series is 3-3.
Yeah, I'm not scared of Connor McDavid, and neither should you be. Our faithful Dallas Stars fan. Everyone that watches this show is a diehard Dallas Stars fan. So we thank you for that. The only person that's not a diehard Dallas Stars fan is a Mr. Casey McAllister. You like to dub your favorite team, the Colorado Avalanche, as the natural disasters, and what a disaster they had on the world stage last week.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough to lose in double overtime. Just wasn't their year. We'll be back better than ever.
No, you won't. No, you won't. We're not scared of Connor McDavid, and neither should you.
No. Other news, Reed. We talked a little bit on Tom's show, but FC Cincinnati. They keep winning. Is that win number 6 in a row? 7 in a row? How many have they won in a row, Casey?
I think it's 6 or it's.
We don't know. That's
The
my
expert.
favorite part about this segment. We just don't know. But here's the thing. FC Cincinnati, Casey was telling me about their defense, how good they were, and they were great. Casey said,
Here comes the bit that I ruined last show.
He ruined this bit on Tom's show, so I'm glad I get to do it now. Their defense was so good that they even had a goal for the other team. That's how good FC Cincinnati's defense was. 3-1, the final score over St. Louis. Is that an FC, or do they have a real mascot?
I think City. I think it's
just-
St. Louis City.
That's it?
Yeah, St. Louis City.
I believe.
St. Louis City.
It's the
Yeah.
worst. Every soccer name I hear is worse than the last.
See, I did.
That's
you
nonsense.
guys like to make fun of this. I like that they have different team names because I can identify almost immediately if they're an old MLS team or if they're a new MLS team. And by that I mean when the MLS started, they gave team names overseas. It's just the name of the city, right?
Yeah.
It's just the name of the city. Here, they're like, let's Americanize soccer a little bit. Let's give them team names. Everyone has team names. Cincinnati Bengals, Cincinnati Reds, all this stuff. So they're like, hey, let's go LA Galaxy. Let's go the New York Red Bulls and Chicago Fire. And then somewhere along the way, they realized, hey, we're not really getting a whole lot of American, like it's just soccer fans, so it's the same fans. We're not really getting into the market. Let's just go back to naming the teams after the city, and that's what they've gone back to. Football Club Cincinnati. I like that. I wish that more sports did that.
No, you don't.
I wish all sports did it. Cincinnati football team, Cincinnati baseball team, Cincinnati soccer team. No confusion.
The Commanders tried it.
They're just called Cincinnati. You get your city better. I feel like they're just because listen, I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a Cubs. How can I just root against Cincinnati? Right. It's just like I'm just rooting against the entire city.
The one thing that pro teams should do is what Pittsburgh does. All your pro teams being the same color is the greatest thing in the entire world.
Correct.
I like that.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, I'm gonna Trace's point earlier on, maybe a month, 2 months ago. It was that this Caitlin Clark stuff is gonna die down eventually. I'm not gonna let it. So Caitlin Clark on Saturday, she scored 22 points. She was 9 for 17 from the field, had 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Her turnover numbers are absurd, but she had 8 turnovers again. I think that's like, what is that? She's at 20-something turnovers through 3 games of play. Tough. Her team, terrible. Worst team I've ever seen play basketball. But the good news is they are now able to fly on private jets. That's what Caitlin Clark brings. And I keep seeing all these videos of Caitlin Clark just getting bodied in the WNBA. They're doing like hard picks on her.
Yeah.
Oh,
nastiest
disgusting. It's disgusting. They're bullying her. They're bullying the
She got you a private plane.
Seriously, the queen of the league. They're just killing her. But listen, Caitlin Clark, shout out to her.
It's a good thing that the team is disliked, because like we just talked about with being the face of the league, it's going to be hard for Ant Edwards to be the face of the league if nobody hates him. If the league themselves hate Caitlin Clark and we can just cheer for Caitlin Clark to overcome the entire league, I think you need a heel for the hero.
Yeah.
You need a villain for the hero, and if Caitlin Clark's our hero, the entire WNBA saying we'll be the villain. We'll be the villain. We'll be Despicable Me. We'll be Mastermind, Megamind, whatever that terrible 2010 Will Ferrell movie.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Whoa.
Wow.
Thank you.
That is
Huge
a great
Megamind
movie.
guy.
Over Despicable Me.
No. Oh, yeah, it's not even close.
Didn't have the marketable minions.
You like Despicable Me?
Despicable Me is great.
Despicable Me is pretty awesome.
It's so fluffy.
Despicable Me 2 takes.
I mean,
a big
Megamind is
step
great,
down, though.
but
What about they're on like the 6th one?
Minions is great.
because it's so
They
good.
don't speak. Another sporting news that I forgot to mention also, and this is like every time the Kentucky Derby's run, it's like, oh yeah, there's other horse races too that are pretty big for the Triple Crown. The Preakness happened on Saturday. No idea it happened. No idea. Didn't have money on it. Didn't have anybody talk about it. But Seize the Gray wins the Preakness. For those of you who didn't notice, Seize the Gray. He beat Mystic Dan for a chance at the no Triple Crown.
No, not Mystic Dan.
That's Mystic Dan.
Not Mystic Dan. I'll give you $10 on the spot if you can name the states. So you know the Kentucky Derbies in Kentucky. Can you name the states in which the other 2 Triple Crown races are raced in?
New York.
Yeah. I mean, do you not know Preakness?
No.
Come on, man.
Maryland.
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Yeah, it's Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah.
You would listen. You could give me 100 guesses. I would have guessed Maryland. In fact, I forgot Maryland was a state. If I'm gonna be completely honest.
It is easy one to forget. As we go into break, what's the most forgettable state? I'll argue.
That's a good question.
You got a chunk of them out there that are all forgettable.
New Hampshire. New Hampshire.
Fair.
That's a good one. All right, we're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Reds. And I'm sure you're going to love any opinion that I have on the Cincinnati Reds. Stay tuned. We're back on 1410 Wing AM. All right, we are back on 1410 Wing AM. We were talking with our boss, Trace Fowler. Obviously, he's not on the show anymore. He's going to focus on being the CEO and everything. And one thing that he's talking about, obviously, he's still on Chatterbox Reds. About 3 weeks ago, when he was hosting, he brought up a proposition because everyone saw where the Reds were heading. They were going on this tough streak. And he said, hey, if we go 13 and 17 over the next 30 games, that'll make me happy, which would have led the Reds to like 2 games under 500 through that tough stretch. And me and Elly De La Rue over here, we pushed back on that proposition. In hindsight, were we on the wrong side?
No, because our whole point was if you go into this stretch saying, I'm fine with losing, I'm fine with being under 500, that's not the right mindset I don't think a fan should have about their team. Yeah, it's okay if we lose out here. If we lose, if we go 5 games under 500, that's fine. We'll be alive, right? At some point, you have to change the mindset to be like, all right, let's try to win this. Let's try to win this stretch. We can win this stretch. Are we really that much worse than the San Francisco Giants? Are we really that much worse than the San Diego Padres? We can get through this. The Arizona Diamondbacks are sub 500. The Reds can get through this. We can have a winning record. That was our point. Having a little bit, I think we were the optimistic fans at that. Were we wrong in hindsight? I don't know. We were just talking about the mindset in general. Sure, if you look back on it and say, if you would have promised me, 4 games under 500 now, I would have taken it.
Right.
Obviously.
Tickle pink.
Yeah, I would have been great. It would have been great. World Series would still be on. But no, I don't think we were wrong. I still maintain the belief that you have to think your team's good enough to win. And if you don't think your team's good enough to win, how can they realistically win? And they can't. The answer is they can't. It's not a good team. And we figured that out over this stretch.
Yeah, at the moment. At the moment.
At the moment.
But
if I have to hear this at the moment.
One 12-game win streak. Those come around all the time.
Every year.
Those come around all the time. All you need is one 12-game win streak. I say that without a smile on my face as I'm trying not to smile. Jacob Tisson. Your Cincinnati Red Legs have been terrible since you've been in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Since I've been born.
Are you ready? Are you ready to bring back winning into Cincinnati as you come home?
I want nothing more. I left to go to school last year, and I thought, that was the last summer for a long time that the Reds are going to be really bad and not fun. But boy, oh boy, was I wrong, because here we are in May of 2024, and we're right back where we were last year. Literally the exact same spot. So with less optimism, I would say.
I'll say this. The little grace period the Castellinis had last year during the back half of that season, gone.
I ironed my Team Bob shirt. It's coming out of the closet. It's been in there for about a year and a half. It's coming out of the closet.
They got a little bit of a grace period when every single rookie that came up started hitting like 275. That's gone. The ownership at this point, they've maintained and they've built a franchise that is a loser. They've built a loser. And we have to sit here every single season and talk about how they lose. Every year. It doesn't change. Under David Bell, the last 6 seasons, I'm not blaming David Bell, but we talk about the lack of urgency. They haven't had a winning record in the first 40 games of the season in the last 6 years. 6 years. That's just under David Bell. Obviously, we're not talking about the 2015 team, 2016 teams that also sucked. So, yeah, I'm a little frustrated with the Cincinnati Red Legs. And it's not at the fault of their own. I get that. It's injuries galore. When you lose 4 key roster pieces, you're going to struggle. Saying that, I'm looking around the lineup, and again, pardon my take for reusing some of this from Tom's show, but it's not a good team. You can't field that lineup yesterday and expect to win the game. Under no circumstance can you expect to win the game when your 5, 6, 7, 8 are Jonathan India, Santiago Espinal, Luke Maley, and Jacob Hurtubise. Under no circumstance. And that's where the Reds are. So as we go on, and there's a couple things I want to talk about regarding the Reds, specifically with our closers, Fernando Cruz, Nando, as Jacob likes to call him, and Alexis Diaz. That's a topic I want to get into in a second. Okay. I want to talk about Tyler Stevenson playing more. That's your guy, Tyler Stevenson.
I don't have a whole lot of Reds takes. I have 3 that need to be right.
Yeah.
One is that I need Tyler Stevenson to be good. I think people sold out on Tyler Stevenson way too early. I think that Tyler Stevenson, especially in the era of which catching as an art form is kind of going to go by the wayside as pitch com's has been implemented. In a couple of years, pitch framing will be out of the question because we'll just have automatic strike zones. So Tyler Stevenson, I need him to be good. The other guy that I haven't been hot on is Billy Baseball, Will Benson. I was high on him last year. And then the third take is that I need the Pirates to be better. I just need the Pirates to be better than the Reds, and that one's looking okay at the current moment. I don't think
there's a world where the Reds finish above the Pirates. I really don't. That's how bad this season has taken a turn. Starting pitching, Jacob said it on Tom's show earlier. Starting pitching can't be this good throughout the entire season. We just lost Nick Lodolo. Eventually, and I hate to say this, somebody else is going to go down. And I don't know which player that will be. Maybe it's Hunter Green. If we lose Hunter Green, we're in real big trouble then. Because Hunter Green is...
Statistically, we're about to. Because every other pitcher with an average fastball above 97 miles an hour has missed at least 2 starts so far this year.
Correct.
So he's going to fall at some point to hopefully not a full UCL or anything like that, but he's going to have to miss time with a hurt elbow at some point. He's throwing 100 miles an hour almost 20, 30 times a game. It's ridiculous.
And here's the crux of that issue. Starting pitching-wise, if somebody goes down, we do have replacements. Brandon Williamson will be up eventually, hopefully. You will have Rhett Lauder eventually coming through the system. Yeah. Saying that, I think Rhett got roughed up, though, this weekend. Saying that, they built this roster, this lineup, with the hopes that they'd all stay healthy, and we talk about the depth. There's no depth anymore. You build a lineup and we had no contingency plan when all these guys got hurt. They all got hurt, every single one of them. And maybe you can't factor in the fact that 4 out of your 5 bona fide core guys either weren't going to perform or they're going to be straight up hurt, not available for the season. I don't know how much Nick Krall can factor that in, but nonetheless, that's the situation we're in, and it's an uncompetitive baseball team at the moment. Yeah. And we can sit here and say it's going to get better, things are going to turn. You really think it can turn with Santiago Espinal, Luke Maile, Jacob Hurtubise? And the answer is no. No rational person can possibly think that. The only person that's been somewhat consistent is Elly De La Cruz, a guy that some people, like myself, shout out to me, said he should be benched earlier in the year because he had 3 errors in a game, which was a nonsensical take by me. I'll own that bad take. But right now we have no Spencer Steer. Spencer Steer's a guy who I thought, at least towards the beginning of the season, I thought coming into the season, he was our most consistent player.
That was my 4th take.
That was your 4th take, and you might be right about it. Spencer Steer in his last 7 games, he has 2 hits.
His ceiling or his floor was supposed to be the highest out of anybody.
Correct.
He was supposed to be him and CES were the 2 that were supposed to be virtually impossible to slump. And obviously, before CES got hit with that pitch, he was one of the worst qualified hitters in the entire league.
Yeah,
maybe the benefit of the doubt I want to give Nick Krall and David Bell and the rest of the Reds is they didn't think these guys were major leaguers either. I mean, they let Mike Ford walk off AAA 3 times. Hurtubise was down there in AA to start the year. I mean, they did not think that the guys that are playing now are major leaguers. These guys were not the plan. I mean, it was supposed to be Marte at 3rd and CES at 1st, and then all of a sudden, Jamer Candelario was a pretty exciting bench bat DH, and now he's an everyday, in-the-field player, and that's just not what you were expecting anything about this lineup to look like defensively, offensively, up and down, in the field, everything.
It's just bad. When you have arguably what right now, Spencer Steer is technically our 3rd best, 4th best hitter. Just because we think he's good. 7 games, he's 2 for his last 24. He's 8 for his last 50. In his last 15 games, he's hitting 160. In his last 30 games, he's hitting 170 with a 270 OBP, and that is I believe a 238 slugging percentage. Not good.
We have 3 guys above that 700-ish OPS line. That's league average. One of those is 710 Spencer Steer. Number 2 is Tyler Stevenson, who we've already talked about, doesn't play every day. And then, obviously, Elly De La Cruz, number 1. But that's just not even a competitive lineup. No,
and this is where I'll talk about Tyler Stevenson for a minute. Because Tyler Stevenson's a guy that guys like me wrote off towards the beginning of this season. I said Tyler Stevenson probably should have been getting some of that vitriol that Jonathan India got all of last season. Because Tyler Stevenson was massively disappointing. And he was just as bad defensively, I'd argue, as Jonathan India was. Wasn't very good. This season, he's improved massively, drastically defensively. He's been very good. He's been very serviceable, very good offensively, especially as of late. He's a guy that needs to play every day. And I know that thing of where catchers in today's game, they're not starting every game. That's fine. DH him. DH him. There is no excuse for Tyler Stevenson not to be in the lineup every day. None. 0
Catcher
whatsoever.
Needs a break. A catcher does need a break.
Catcher needs a break.
Even as a designated hitter, sometimes I know you're hitting 3-4 times a game. You're not really putting stress on the body, but catchers need breaks more above any other position. But here's my thing with that: if you give him the break, it's a significantly worse team without him, drastically. And that's why you give him the break so that he doesn't miss significant amounts of times and hurts himself.
Okay, but let me ask you this. When you're, what are we, 9 games under 500 right now, and you need wins, at some point, when does the season become lost?
I mean, does it get better when Luke Maile is your everyday catcher in August because Tyler Stevenson has a broken collarbone again?
Correct.
But
he's agreeing with me. He's agreeing with me.
I'm agreeing with Reed.
I'm going to say this, though. If the Reds are able to somehow scratch and claw their way to 3 games below 500, 4 games below 500, because of Tyler Stevenson's playing every day, and obviously one guy doesn't make the difference. You're seeing it with Elly De La Cruz. Obviously, one guy can't carry an entire lineup, but I will say it helps. When you can take away the pressure off of Elly De La Cruz to come up big in every single big moment that he's given, it's going to be impossible for him to live up to any expectation you have for him. Having a guy like Tyler Stevenson every single day, at least playing DH. What if we did this? Why don't you have him DH 2 out of the two? So you do 3-2, three catchers or 3 catches for Tyler Stevenson, and then 2 DHs.
Hey, listen, he needs a full day off once a week. That's all you need. Like it's not a time around the rotation. It's just and it's typically the day game. You give him off Sunday, you give him off the out of town or the get on the road day. One of those days he gets off, and that's just where you're just going to be without Tyler Stevenson, who is one of your best hitters. You're probably your second best hitter in the lineup. So that's where that comes from. And that's just a nature of the beast. You don't mess with hurting a catcher that is firing on all cylinders like Tyler Stevenson. And by the way, a lot of people did write him off. I am happy for him that he's playing.
I'm happy for him too. It's great.
He's playing significantly better. The one thing that I dislike, and I brought this up before, and I come from a periphery of not inside Reds fandom, and this isn't pointed. This isn't slanted at anybody inside of Reds fandom. It's kind of slanted at the the team as a whole. Is I hate the gotchas. I hate the gotchas on social media. I hate you have a take, and I know I said that about Tyler Stevenson. I know, like, hey, I was high on Tyler Stevenson. I don't like how you make a take, it turns out to be right. Everyone argues with you, and it's like, I told you. And it happens both ways. It happens almost universally, right? It's someone doesn't like the platoons, and the platoon comes out and scores 10 runs against a good pitcher. Oh, there's the platoon. Someone doesn't like the shift, and then the shift works. Someone, says something about, I don't know. It's just, I don't like how it's always slanted towards tearing. I made this take before. It's not going to be fun when you're fighting with each other. Fight with the me's. Fight with the Cubs fans. Don't fight with each other. But then again, you're fighting just to stay afloat at this point in the season and here in May. Yeah, all it takes is one 12-game win streak, though.
I don't like that joke.
It's not a fun joke.
I don't like the joke at all. And it's just, again, Tom asked me on the show, is there a solution for what's happening? The answer is no. There's no solution. You can't fix it. You can't sign 9 free agents. You can't have every one of these guys perform well at the same time. We talked about they were all slumping at the same time. They weren't slumping. That's just who they were. They're just not good players. You have a bunch of not good players on your team, unfortunately, and that's where they are. You lose Matt McLean. You lose Noelvi Marte. TJ Friedel, I guess, technically came back. I would say he didn't really come back. And this is where the Reds are. But next segment, Reed, if that's okay, we're going to go to break real quick. Yep. I want to talk about Alexis Diaz because I talked about this last week with Nick Kirby. I'm curious to hear everybody's thoughts. So we'll be right back right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. And welcome back in. This is Off the Bench. This is Chatterbox Sports. If you are listening in your car or radio, we thank you very much. If you'd like a different experience, we are on YouTube. You can see all of our beautiful faces. Some say I have a face for radio, and that's okay. But I'm on YouTube if you want.
I disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah.
That's good.
You actually worked in radio, didn't you?
You did work in radio, right?
I can't believe you guys remembered it. Because, yes, I did. I worked in radio. Cow. I worked at that station up in Kenwood. It's 700 WLW. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Shout out. No free ads.
We had Casey working TV. We had you working radio. I worked in the thriving print industry.
That's right.
I worked in the thriving print
industry.
Still
alive and well.
Oh, yeah.
Got about a couple of years before that. I get on Facebook and see the Van Wert Times Bulletin closes down its shops for good. But you wanted to talk about the relief pitching, the closer role.
The closer.
The Alexis Diaz, who is continuing to be in a bit of a slump.
That's right. So I'm gonna go over these numbers, and again, they're a little bit skewed. I get it because it's which is what I've been given. Over his last 7 games, he has a 14.29 ERA. That is 9 hits and 9 earned runs, 7 walks in his last 7 games. In his last 15 games, he's pitched in 13 innings, 13 and 2/3 innings. He's given up 12 hits, 10 earned runs, 11 walks. That's a 7 ERA. And you go down to the last 30 games with another 7 ERA, 16.2 innings, 15 hits, 13 earned runs, with 13 walks as well during that 18-game stretch. So this is what we have for Alexis Diaz. This is a guy who's been consistently struggling since the end of last season. Eventually, you're going to have to make the change. And that change is probably going to happen sooner than later this season because he's not good enough. Yesterday, he came in, and I'm not going to fault him for yesterday because you have the magic runner on second. It's a difficult task to get out of that. But leading up to that, he's been bad. He's been really, really bad. And so has, unfortunately, Fernando Cruz. Fernando Cruz has been terrible. I saw this. We brought up this stat last Friday. Fernando Cruz, when he starts an inning, drastically worse than when he comes in to get somebody out of a jam.
Great with inherited runners.
Great with inherited runners.
Can't do anything else.
These are our two guys that are our biggest high leverage guys, both of them struggling mightily over the course of the last month and a half. I don't know what the solution would be because I don't think I trust Lucas Sims, and I don't think a majority of the fan base trusts Lucas Sims to come in that spot in the bottom of the ninth inning. So I don't know who that answer would be. It's Sam Moll? Probably not. So, but at some point, the people on X, Twitter, whatever, they're right when you say you have to shake things up. You have to change something. Because if you do the same thing over and over again and expect different result, you're going to be a crazy person. That's what David Bell would have to be to continue this. Now, the issue with it, I don't know. The PR stuff, you lose your closer. The guy for the Mets, his cousin, whatever. His brother, sorry.
Edwin Diaz,
Edwin Diaz, struggling, crying. I think he's coming out of the closer role for a little bit.
He's out. Yeah.
So right now, if I'm David Bell, I move him out of the closing role. So somebody else has to have a try at it.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I think you look at your bullpen, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't think that Lucas Sims, Sam, any of these are legitimate shutdown guys. They could be good. Relief pitchers are so fickle. They're so fickle. One year that they're great, some years that they're terrible. It's the reason that if you get a guy like Craig Kimbrell, who even in his twilight of his career hasn't been fantastic, if you get someone that is a certified closer for years and years, you hold on to those guys. Alexis Diaz and Fernando Cruz have the best stuff in the bullpen. No, right?
I still would think so. I know Alexis Diaz, it's 6 strikeouts to 9 earned runs in his last 7 games.
So here's the thing. If while you're on this skid, if the end result requires you if the end result is, hey, we want to win games in the postseason, a legitimate postseason team has a closer like Alexis Diaz, has a closer like Fernando Cruz. They don't have a closer like Sam Moll. They don't have a closer like Lucas Sims. They have a legitimate guy. So why not just you can say it's the definition of insanity, keep throwing them out there and expecting different results. But if you want to get to where you want to be, you need that guy to be the guy that you expected him to be.
Sure, 100%.
So you got to keep rolling him out there. No,
I think there's a line in the sand, right? I think eventually, after bad outing, you have to say, all right, this is not working. We can keep riding him until the sun burns out. But at the end of the day, if that ERA is still at 7 and he's still giving up 1 run and he's walking 2 guys every single time he comes into the ball game, it's not going to work. And Evan brings it up in the chat. He doesn't like the ideas of closers, whatever that opinion may be. I do think there is something to similar when a starting pitcher can't go that start by committee, right? You're using seven different pitchers. Yeah. I think at this point you have to probably try that at the closer role. You bring Alexis Diaz on in the 7th. You bring Fernando Cruz on in the 8th. Somebody else tries in the 9th. And you keep switching it. It won't work. Maybe it won't work. But at the end of the day, I know this isn't working. It's not. And I don't know how you fix it. You can't really fix it. And Devin said I was blaming David Bell. I'm not blaming David Bell. David Bell expects his closer to go out and get outs. He hasn't been able to do that. That's
all-star closer.
That's all-star closer. And by all-star manager, too.
Manager.
Both all-stars. Who do you think our Mercy Rule All-Star is going to be this year, by the way?
It's going to be
Elly.
Certainly going to be Elly.
Elly.
But the question is will you get a second one?
I don't think that's even going to be a Mercy All-Star.
Elly De La Cruz might start in the All-Star.
I think
he's a legitimate MVP candidate.
Hunter has a chance. If Hunter stays healthy.
He's a big enough name. He's going deep enough into games. I think he could get there.
I really like the stat that I saw Kirby, and I'm going to butcher it. I'm going to say about how Hunter Green has more starts into the 6th inning or 7th inning than any pitcher, than all the other starting pitchers combined. wasn't the big thing? Why can't he go deep into games? And he goes deep into games.
Well, yesterday he went 6, but before that, 3 in a row went 7.
Yeah, he's earned the title of long reliever now. He's up the ante to long reliever. The
funny thing is when Hunter Green has 100 pitches in the 4th inning, and I'll get on Twitter and just be like, see, told you guys.
Yeah, the gotcha thing for the Reds fandom is a joke. It's I play into it now as a bit. Anytime Jonathan India gets on base, I'm going to go out there and tweet out, look at what Jonathan India does, leadership. And I'm honestly, that bit's never going to stop. I'm going to keep doing it until he's traded or cut.
Does it hurt you? Typing those tweets, sending those tweets.
Oh, it hurts.
Does it hurt you a little bit?
Yeah, it kills me because I know he's not very good, and I have to make the facade that he is.
Great rookie though.
What?
He was a great rookie.
He was a great rookie.
That's right, Jimmy Clausen.
Great rookie.
That's right, Jimmy Clausen.
Thanks, Rudy. But here's the thing. As we go on this season, this really fun season here, what do you think will be the plan going forward? By Nick Kroll, as we approach the deadline and we see this team struggle and tank, do you think any of this team is going to get teared away and traded, shipped off?
Do you have I can't think of any old the Jamer's the only piece that could get traded away.
Maybe
right?
if you get like Buck Farmer keeps pitching well,
Nick
maybe
Martinez, guys like this that are older. But if you're wondering if there's going to be cavalry, if you're wondering if there's going to be cavalry from Nick Kroll, him going out and getting more pieces, the answer is no. It's too depleted. You'd have to get too many pieces.
That's my question. I want to know, when do you think Nick Kroll knows it's over?
I'll tell you with almost 100% certainty that they're going to sit there and just point at the injured list and say, we'll give it a go next year. I mean, there's no chance they tear anything up because they're just going to point to David Bell and say, hey, you didn't have the lineup you were promised. This season's a wash, and we're going to give it a go next year with a lineup that we thought could win the NL Central.
Can I ask you this,
Let's
Jacob?
go.
Can I ask you, and that will be it. Let me ask you this, Jacob. Next year, if that is the mentality, we don't sign any free agents because technically all our spots are filled, right? You have, a surplus of infielders, and you've got a decent amount of outfielders already. Saying that, if they don't make a move, they say, we're standing pat. You still have this roster. It's completely healthy now. You have Noelvi back from his roid rage. You have Matt McClain. You got TJ Friedel out there. Everybody's back and healthy. Is this lineup good enough to win, do you think? Because you still have Tyler Stevenson, you still have Jonathan India, you still have Jake Fraley, Will Benson, you still have Spencer Steer. Are those guys good enough to win games? It comes down to that.
I do think so.
Okay.
I think a healthy Reds team, I believe in the infield of Elly, McClain, Marte, and CES.
It's certainly top 5 in the NL Central.
I would certainly say so.
I would agree with that.
I don't know. You can't say anything with injuries and everything like that and how they only played a certain amount of games last year, but I was so optimistic with this roster coming into the year. We haven't even seen it play poorly. We've seen a crop of quadruple A players playing every day. So I don't know. I still believe in the nucleus of this team.
Is that the most depressing thing? Is that there is no light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
Right. Like last year, where you're sitting around this, you're like, well, we got Elly coming up.
Right.
We got Matt McClain. We got all these pieces that we can keep turning to. This year, it's just a hopeless. At the current moment.
Yeah.
The hope is that the guys come back from injury.
Tread water till your best player heals his labrum. That's just not a brand of baseball that's exciting to watch or, gets you going for the future. It's punting on a season.
And that's the worst part of it. Punting on a season like this, after what happened last year, it almost seems insulting. It really does. It seems insulting with the talent. And Jacob, I'm going to correct Jacob real quick. He said there's a bunch of quadruple A players. Bubba Thompson was sent straight to Chattanooga.
And he's double player of the week.
We fielded a double A player on a major league roster for 17 games. 17 games. We had a double A player here.
Good one.
That's the good one. What, do you have one hit? Did he finish?
Two-time player of the week in Chattanooga.
Two-time player of the week, huh?
Yeah.
I think he's due for a promotion.
I think Reed was two-time player of the week in Chattanooga once or twice.
I'd love to see him in Louisville. Just keep sending him up through the system. Maybe he can get back, steal a couple of bases as a pinch runner again by the end of the year.
It's just a sad state of affairs where the Cincinnati Reds are at. There is no light of the tunnel. There's nobody coming to help you. Nick Kroll's not signing 7 free agents. The starting pitching eventually is going to come back down to earth, and you're seeing what's happening with the back end of our bullpen struggling mightily.
Perhaps as a baseball fan, one of the most disappointing things about the Cincinnati Reds is if the Cincinnati Reds were fully healthy, I think The Pirates have a really good nucleus. I think they've got really good arms, and I know they're 5 games under 500, but we'll see how they're going to continue to improve with O'Neal Cruz hitting better, and now they got Jared Jones and Paul Skeens along with Mitch Keller at the top of their rotation. The Brewers, I don't think anybody saw what the Brewers are able to do with the sticks.
No.
I don't think anybody saw them hitting. I mean, William Contreras is also a bona fide MVP candidate. He's batting .350. And then the Cubs, who have the #1 farm system and already have a pretty good MLB roster. I think we were robbed of, not only in this city but in the NL Central, of what could have been a fantastic season down the line. And once again, there's 70% of the season still left. All it takes is one 12-game win streak to get right back in the thick of things. Get right back in. Those things come around a lot, so we should keep holding out for the 12-game win streak.
That's the 4th reference now of the 12-game win streak on this show, and that's fine. We can talk about it all day long. And Tom, let me ask you this. Tom asked us
Swing it my way, Big Ben.
Tom asked us what our prediction was for this 9-game homestand. Padres, Dodgers, Cardinals. What's your number? I said 1. Jacob said 3.
I said 3.
2 guys said 4.
I said 4.
I said we beat the Cardinals, get swept by the Dodgers, and win 1 against San Diego. I think that's the ceiling.
I think Padres cook us at home, though, if I remember that right.
We get cooked by everyone everywhere.
That is
We're 3-14 this month.
Can I don't know if you obviously haven't been in the room, but Elliot likes to always talk about, and this is a common thing, that the Reds have played bad over his lifetime on West Coast trips.
They have been, objectively. That's not my opinion. That's a fact.
Well, you only say it about that. It's like it's everywhere. They haven't played well against the NL Central. They haven't played well against the American League. They haven't, are they going to the New York Metropolitans and Atlanta and Philadelphia and tearing it up? No. It's just the fact that you remember that they play at 10 p.m. and you're staying up, and then you're like, oh, that was a waste of my time. That's why it feels like that. I'll put my stake in 8-1. 8-1. They won't fully get the 12-game win streak. They'll get 8, and then they'll lose.
They'll lose the last one.
Yeah, they'll lose the last one against the Cardinals.
Heartbreak.
What would it take for you to believe in this roster?
12-game win streak.
Huh? 12-game win streak?
With complete...
A 12-game streak.
Seven references for the 12-game winning streak today.
But it's going to happen. It happened last year.
How are you doing this?
Right. Jimmy gets it. Jimmy, are you a Tigers fan?
I'm a Tigers fan, yeah.
Oh.
Best.
They're kind of okay. I was gonna say they're pretty good.
We have the best pitcher in the American League.
Yeah, Tarek. Screwball.
Flaherty.
And Flaherty's doing well. Yeah.
Flaherty's doing really good.
Nice.
And he's healthy.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking more about just the world of sports, because this is the home for sports in the Miami Valley. 1410 Wing AM.
Yeah,
Ad breaks.
let's do
Oh
some
my
ads.
gosh, guys. Let's take a deep breath. Got through the hour. Got through the first hour. We got Jimmy Clausen in the pocket over there. We got Jacob Tiston's flow. And listen,
Rudy. Nobody's doing it with me. Rudy.
People forget that Vince Vaughn caught a halfback pass up 40. Up 40 just to get their walk on a chance to go on the kickoff team.
You could concoct a pretty wild roster of celebrity actors in sports movies. Ryan Gosling at corner.
Yeah, he was a liability.
He was a liability.
He
on
was
the
a
outside.
liability
Yeah.
at corner, no doubt about it. Who's some other good? Some other.
There's one more I can picture him, but I forget what movie it is.
Nuke LaLoosh was sent to prison a few years later after Bull Durham.
Really?
Oh, Channing Tatum.
Yeah, he went to the Shawshank.
Channing Tatum.
Casey, ads.
Ads. That's what I do here on this show. I read the ads. Encore Technologies is provided by.
But there's nobody else who does it like you.
No one. Yeah, I mean, not even the
You
great.
talked to FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, a little bit.
How many games they win in a row?
It was 6, and I was right. And I still get made fun of, so it's all right.
Can you name the last 6 opponents?
Whatever. I can't name the last 6.
Encore Technologies.
Encore Technologies, they provide IT solutions for a data-centered world. With the suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and workflow computing modules to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
Jacob remembers productivity. The path to innovation begins right here. Visit encore.tech.
There it is.
Oh,
A lovely bottle of water. I'm sure Jacob's missed this bottle of water.
Oh, I missed it.
You hear it?
I mean, It's the best alkaline water in the world.
That's right,
right.
Jacob.
That's
It
right.
is the best alkaline water in the world. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result being what Jacob said, a healthy alkaline water. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNIwater.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. And then I've got another ad to read, and I have to read it verbatim. Otherwise, we'll get in trouble here. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Thank you.
There we go.
That was really good.
Can I?
Mascot made me laugh in the chat, by the way, Casey.
Can I make a
saw some
stat?
messages.
Can I tell a stat?
What is he on? Is he hating on me?
Yeah.
I do not hate baseball. How many times do we have to go over this, brother? Like, I love the team. I can't help that I started being a fan when they suck. Like,
If you started being a fan any time in the last 30 years, you probably started liking them when they sucked.
Fair enough.
Golly.
They're bringing championship baseball back to Cincinnati, baby.
You want to hear a stat?
Where are you gonna go?
Who do you
In the
always make
dumpster.
fun? You always make fun of Casey
Yeah.
for FCC.
I just play a little joke.
Okay. Football Club Cincinnati in the month of May. 4 wins.
Oh no.
Oh no, Elliot.
Cincinnati Reds in the month of May. 3 wins.
Bad stat.
They have
Bad
draws
stat.
in soccer too.
They do.
They play once a
Dang,
week.
Elliot.
They
That's
play
tough.
once a week.
Oh man.
You know who's actually made it through the playoffs? Made it to a.
So now you are
championship?
hating baseball. You're hating baseball now.
I'm not hating.
Yeah, you
I'm
are.
Just, I'm just
Trade
saying.
FC Cincinnati for like 3 Reds wins.
How much?
If we sweep the Padres, I would trade
serious I have a serious question. If they came to you, whoever owns the FC Cincinnati's,
the
if,
Linder family, the UDF.
if
Mr. Dairy Farmers.
if Dr. Farmer comes up to you and he says, "All right, Jacob, I'm gonna give you X amount of money, and this team will be gone." How much would it take for you just to
not a lot of money.
like if he offered you $25, would you take it? FC Cincinnati.
No, 50.
50. Okay.
If we get to triple digits,
Okay.
But they're
I'll set
good.
up a sweet party in that stadium. We'll be good to go.
It's
Yeah.
the only winning sport we have in this freaking town right now.
Not true.
Till we get a hockey team.
Not true.
The Bengals won.
Bengals win some
I
games.
said right now, like playing right now.
Playing right now.
Well, it's
Okay.
only 2.
Well, I mean, there's Bearcats.
I'm sure the Cincinnati Steam are really good too.
Cincinnati's team, very, very good.
Sure.
They brought
What happened to the
championship
Cincinnati
baseball.
Commandos, the Arena Football?
Oh, I forgot about
Great
that.
team.
Oh, yes.
I played.
That's honestly that could save the city.
I think so.
An Arena Football League
Are
team.
they bringing them? Are we getting an arena?
We are not getting one.
Okay.
They're not bringing back the Cincinnati Commandos, but they are bringing back Arena Football. 8 teams.
I played
Weird locations.
a couple years ago. I played slow. Well, you got to go into a city that doesn't have a whole lot, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you got to go into a city that doesn't have a whole lot. I played slow pitch softball with a guy that played fullback for the Commandos. Played fullback in the Arena Football League. That's a funny sentence.
The commissioner of the Arena Football League?
Tell me it's The Rock. He just owns all. of
Jeff Fisher.
it. Really?
Yeah.
Bringing it back. Greatest show on turf.
Greatest show on turf.
There you go. All right, we gotta come back. When we come back, we'll be talking. All right, we're gonna come back. And welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Reed Mouse. We got a cast of characters in here today. We're gonna be making some changes to the format of this show here soon. I'm not gonna be up here hosting every day. I'm not gonna be up here. I know. Tracy's
Well, I think
no longer on.
I don't
the
even
show.
know. I don't even know if you were officially even host. I think it was just the way the seats are arranged.
Correct.
Like the camera
I
just
know.
goes
I
to
know. I'm the
you.
one sending it back just because I think it's what we're used to, sending
Yeah.
it over to this side of the room. But yeah, this is it's going to be a cavalcade of Villanova.
Good word.
We're going to be Villanova. I've thrown some great words.
Got a good vocabulary going today.
I said one earlier that I was Prometheus. I said Prometheus, which I felt so proud about. But we're talking Cincinnati Reds. We just did 2 segments on it. Here's the thing that I'll say about the Reds. I know you guys talked about them on Tom's show earlier in the day. You asked Jacob what it would take to bring him back. And I don't think it's a 12-game win streak. I really don't think.
No.
I think what you're watching right now is just not a fun product. The charm of last year's team was how fun they were. Yeah, they only won 82 games, but the games felt a lot more fun. Right now, watching a team get 2 hits isn't a whole lot of fun. So I don't think it takes a 12-game win streak. Yes, it takes more competitive games. Yeah, it takes to get on a little bit of a win streak, to get some W's instead of the L's, 3 wins in the entire month of May thus far. But it also just requires the team to be a little bit more fun of a watch.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the number's probably a little closer to 6 or 7. I mean, if we win 6 games in a row, we sweep these next 2 series. We're 3 games below 500, probably sitting right in the middle of the NL Central. I think that's probably the realistic number. But if we're just going to keep losing every series, scoring a total of like 7 runs, and that's in the 1 game we win, it's just a nightmare of baseball to watch.
The beauty is that the final wild card spot right now is a sub-500 team. This is a National League that's tearing itself apart.
And that's why it's so hard to throw in the towel officially.
Correct. You're 4.5 out.
8.5 out of the Central with however many billions of games left to play this year. It's still in play, even though they're playing so bad. But you are running out of time. Like it has to turn around soon.
There's absolutely no doubt that you are running out of time to where you can't get into the month of July and still be 10 games under 500 and expect. But like I said, it doesn't take one miracle 12-game win streak that come around this city so often as they do. It doesn't take one of
9.
those. What it takes is just more fun, a much more fun product.
That's all I've asked. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking for. I don't even care if you win at this point. I really don't. That's how much this team has broken me. Don't care about wins whatsoever. I just want to smile when I watch baseball. Last year, win, lose, didn't matter. It was such a fun team that I just liked being a part of it. I liked watching it every single night. I knew somebody was going to show up and show out time and time again. And this year, you don't have it. You have a dead team this year, and I hate to say that, but it's we can sit here and say mathematically, it's not over. But if this is your lineup going forward, it's over. There's no chance for them to turn around a team like this. You don't turn around Jacob Hurtubise. You don't turn around Santiago Espinal. Luke Mailey's hitting $120. He doesn't turn around. None of these guys turn around. The only guys that can turn around are Spencer Steer. If you want to say Jake Fraley. Jake Fraley's been solid, I guess. He just doesn't have a ton of extra base hits over the past month stretch. Those are the guys that can turn it around. 3 guys? Will Benson maybe? 4? 4 guys? Turn it around?
Will Benson will play better.
I think Will Benson's recipe to playing better is just not playing every day.
Correct.
He's terrible against lefties, and he gets in his head, and he's stopped hitting righties.
Correct. You've got to get it to where Will Benson doesn't have to play every day, which is a tough ask with the way that
Which I don't know who you're playing every day. You kind of need his defense.
You're kind of forced for him to play out there every single day, but there's no doubt about that. And we've talked about this before. He was one of the worst players in baseball last April. Could just be warm weather guy. Luckily, the weather forecast when he's home this week is about 90 degrees, so maybe he can play a little better. All right, so the Padres come to town. The Dodgers come to town. The Cardinals come to town with Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. In years past, when the Padres would come to town, there'd be a decent crowd. Obviously, no one brings a crowd quite like the Dodgers in the National League. They got Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts. They got all these players. What's the attendance going to be like, and how telling is it going to feel for like the vibe of the city with what the attendance looks like? If people show up this weekend for a 3-game tilde with the Dodgers and only 12,000 fans show up on the weekend, that's not good. I don't think that's going to happen. It seems impossible. The Dodgers are in town.
Shohei.
Yeah, but I want to know. I care less about the total number, and I want to see the percentage of Dodgers fans versus Reds fans. I think that Friday and Saturday game especially is going to be all blue. I mean, it was last year when Elly came up. The whole third baseline was still all Dodgers fans, and that was one of the biggest Reds games attendance-wise all year last year at home. I'm really worried for how that, especially that set. And then Cardinals fans always travel over here as well. They could overrun that stadium pretty easily.
If you lose if this 9-game home stretch here, if it goes the way Jacob and I think it's going to go, there will be no more fans that show up at this point. There will be the weekend Saturday games, and there will be the Sunday games.
Reed, how excited are you for that 4-game Cubs stretch here in Great American Ballpark?
Yeah.
Just you and all your Cubs fans, not a Reds fan in sight.
All the guys from Mason,
Yeah.
get back to where it is. Kyle Hendricks, Meatball Hendricks, as Elliot likes to call him, gives up 7 home runs to Jacob Hurtubise this time, not Aristides Aquino. Yeah, I'm excited for it. 2 weeks away.
Should be fun.
2 weeks. Hopefully the Cubs aren't playing as bad at baseball as they've been playing recently.
I'm gonna say something because the Jacob Hurtubise Warriors are out in the chat right now. Listen, Jacob Hurtubise is a fine player, but let's not sit here and pretend
Service member. Service member.
Service member. Let's not sit here and pretend he's going to be the world's best player on this roster going forward. He's a substitute player that if they were healthy, he wouldn't sniff this roster.
Brian B said he gives good ABs, though.
Oh, Brian B, intelligent. But here's the thing.
My goodness.
Here's the thing.
Take that back.
Here's the thing.
Say you're sorry.
No. Here's the thing, though. Going forward, yeah, Jacob Hurtubise is a fine player. It's a great story. But, I mean, if we're just going to try and sit here to pick the little tiny positives out of thin air, then sure, let's talk about it. But the team's not good. I'm not going to sit here and praise Jacob Hurtubise for betting $250.
All right.
Very sorry.
So when the Dodgers came to town last year, it was the first week of June. It is when Elly came up. It was midweek. And the attendance numbers were 22, 19, and 24. I think the Reds will beat that. this weekend. You disagree?
do?
I think that they will get more than 19, because that was midweek.
So
22, 19, 24. So that's a total of about 70?
Yeah.
Right, 70,000? They'll have more than 70,000 this weekend. Bible it. I've got a few things going my way. It's Memorial Weekend.
That is big. I forgot.
I agree.
And the Dodgers, and it's a weekend against the Dodgers who have Shohei Ohtani.
Memorial Day might save you there, but
They're getting over 70. Let me put it this way. So
all 3 won't go over 20.
the third week of May last year, the Reds played the biggest product in the sport, the New York Yankees. They were 7 games, 8 games. They got swept by the Yankees.
Yeah.
To go to 19 and 27, if that sounds familiar. The attendance was 35, 41, 35 on that weekend series. I think you're gonna get over 25 a game. I truly believe you're gonna get over 25 a game.
If I remember correctly, that Yankees series, was that Matt McClain's first series up at home?
I don't recall. I don't recall.
I don't know. I think it might have been, but that could have drove those numbers as well. I think people side a lot closer to Elliot and I with how the general population feels about this team right now. And
I'm not denying that.
I do not think people are going to games this week.
Yeah, but it's the Dodgers.
It is the Dodgers.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
The number will have to be carried by Dodgers fans, in my opinion.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay, so I guess the better judge of how the current feeling is revolving around the Reds is like the series against the Padres. You're playing a fun team, right? Fernando Tatis, they got Dylan Cease, they got Manny Machado. They've got some fun players. For that 3-game series, what's the over-under on attendance? 55?
50.
No. Who's going on Wednesday night to watch the Reds play the Padres? Tuesday's going to be great because
Well, they
it's their
have the
first
deals.
$3 beer night.
It is a 110. It is a 110 game on a Thursday, so no one's going to be there.
Not a
No
soul
one's
at
there.
that
Yeah,
one.
so we'll put it at a nice 42.
That's what I was going to say, right about 40.
42. That's going to require about 9 on Thursday. So you got to get to like 17. You got to get to 17 the other 2 days.
It's just such depressing numbers to be discussing.
This is where you are as a Reds fan, and
Yeah.
we're talking about turning things around.
You're begging for 9,000 fans.
We're just begging people to show up to the games. That's the segment that we're doing here. Yeah, things are going to turn around. It's not over yet. Let's see how little of fans show up this weekend. That's the game we're currently playing. And if that's what we have to play, that's what we'll have to play. But listen. The Reds are what they are. It's not going to change anytime soon. The offense isn't good. The pitching is good. Until the pitching becomes bad, that's when it'll really be out of hand. And that's what we have to look forward to, is for the collapse, for the downfall. I want to switch topics. I don't like talking about the Reds anymore.
Just one more thing for that number.
Sure.
That Diamondback series before the wretched road trip, they had 14, 15, 18. There's certainly going to be less fans now at a midweek series
Weather's nice.
after that run.
Weather's
Yes,
nice.
the weather is nice,
Weather is better.
but boy, oh boy.
And then they're playing more fun teams. Like I know the Diamondbacks went to the World Series last year, but that's not a fun team. That's not. Corbin Carroll isn't getting people like, hey, I want to go to the ballpark.
He might stink.
He had 2 triples against the
That would be a
Tigers.
great take. The small, what's a small victory that the Reds can take this year? That the Pirates are really bad. That Corbin Carroll's a
Carroll's not as
bust.
good,
Yeah, there's a couple of small victories we can have that has nothing to do with being
He's
the
turning it
Cincinnati
around.
Reds.
He's playing pretty well now.
Corbin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 2 triples against the Tigers this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Let me ask you this: is there a chance, and not that I have to bring this segment up every single week, but I'm going to? Is there a chance David Bell gets fired midway through
We
the
have
season?
to lose 120.
He's an
games.
all-star.
That's what I
He
think. That's
still
what I think.
won't
He is an
retire.
all-star.
He's an all-star. They
That's-
can't fire
that's
him
what I
before
think
the
too.
all-star break.
I think the notion of firing David Bell at this point is so silly to me because it's just never going to
Maybe
happen.
there's no way. And I don't know how, in any sense of the word, you can blame him for really any of these struggles other than maybe not switching the closer yet and not playing Tyler Stevenson every day. That's it. I mean, no manager's going to win a bunch of games with Mike Ford. And
No.
I don't want to say Hurtubise because the chat loves him, but Mike
The
Ford.
chat loves Jacob
I'll say Connor
Hurtubise.
Cable.
I was
Connor
told that
Cable can't be starting.
I was told that Mike Ford and Sam Mull were going to save this season. Is that not the case?
Not by me.
No.
Is that not the case?
It appears Mike Ford was not the prince who was promised. That appears to be fact. But he'll hit third tomorrow night.
Can we do something for the rest of the year? Can we get a list? We'll get a poster board. We'll hang it somewhere in this office. Maybe we'll get a whiteboard. We'll get a whiteboard, nice pretty whiteboard, and we will hang up whatever Reds Twitter is going on about at that current moment.
Love that.
The take that
Just
the
track
collective,
it.
and we'll just track. And we got to date it. We got to say like on March 12th, we were all needing Mike Ford to come up and save the season.
Play every day for a space.
Correct. So we'll do that, and we'll do that for Bengals because the same thing will happen with the Bengals.
Oh, Bengals will be good.
Bengals will be really good because we're still trying to figure out what happens with T. Higgins. We're still trying to. We've done that segment on this show. If you've watched this show since January, we've had 30 shows a day. We've done the T. Higgins talk. We've done it a lot.
28.
We've done it a lot. So what's going to happen? All right, we got one more segment in the tank when we come back here on 1410 Wing AM. And we are back. Listen, there was a thing we talked about last year. The Cincinnati Bengals started out the season slow, as they have seemingly done with Zach Taylor, when it's becoming kind of a trend with both professional teams here in Cincinnati. And I remember saying, or I guess it was when Joe Burrow got hurt in preseason. And this was in the midst of a Reds trying to win the Central, trying to make the postseason. And I made the statement that they just put a lot of pressure, with Joe Burrow going down, they put a lot of pressure back on the Reds to kind of keep the vibes high in this city. Has that somewhat reversed? And once again, 30% into the season. There's still 70% of the season left to play. But is it to the point where, like, if Joe Burrow gets hurt in game 2, that it's just gonna be really, really tough sledding here in the city of Cincinnati? We were so excited last June. So excited. We had Elly Cruz coming up. We had
12-game win streak.
We had a 12-game win streak.
They did that.
We had Luciano Costa and the FCC at the top of the table. And then we had the Cincinnati Bengals, who were coming off a Super Bowl run, coming off an AFC Championship appearance. It felt like things were going right here in this city. Wes Miller and Sean Miller on the rise.
On the rise.
Here we are 365 days later. We saw the Reds fizzle out in September. We saw Joe Burrow get hurt not once but twice. And the Bengals missed out on the postseason. We saw Xavier have their first losing season in 40 years, 30 years, whatever it's been. We saw FCC lose to their rival in the conference championship, right before the real championship. And we saw the UC Bearcats not make the tournament as well. Tough sledding. Tough sledding here in Cincinnati right now.
What's worse, being a Detroit sports fan or a Cincinnati sports fan?
Well, we have the Lions now.
That's true. Well, we have the Bengals.
They also their college
The
football
Tigers
team.
also
I
made
don't.
the World Series in our lifetime.
Yeah, but they've been objectively bad for
I'll take
a long time.
one World Series appearance.
I mean,
They've been to 3, right?
Well, that's what I mean. I'll
Two.
take one.
06 and
06
and 11,
12.
12.
Those Verlander years were fun.
I mean, that was some of the best
I wasn't
pitching staff.
fun.
That was probably the best pitching staff ever to not win a World Series with Scherzer, Verlander, Anibal Sanchez, Doug Fister.
How do you feel about the comparisons of this pitching staff to that one for the Tigers already? Seems a little early to me.
Seems a little early.
Yeah, all right.
I mean,
We're on the same page there.
Reese Olson can't buy a win to save his life. But Tarek Skubal, I think, is.
It's
30 seconds of Tiger talk?
That was pretty good.
Let's hit it. Yeah.
Elliot
That was the
asked.
first time I've smiled today. Just that Tigers talk.
Elliot asked if Detroit's had a worse time when their local college football team are the national champions.
Well,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you know
And-
everyone plays and you got the whole playbook and pitching practice, it's pretty easy.
Kind of Stallions. But we also have the most, I would say, probably the most exciting team in the NFL.
The Lions are built for success. Whether we like to, whether they are.
I do like the Lions.
I mean, you can hate on
Jared
the.
Goff's a pretty good quarterback.
He's a winner.
I think that money is crazy.
But the
But
money's
that's
not.
the going rate. That's
Yeah.
the going rate.
But for a good quarterback,
So let's do this. Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to 2 AFC or 2 conference championship appearances. It sounds a whole lot like a blonde boy here in town. He's been in the league a lot longer. But here's the thing. I'm glad you brought this up because we started with QB talk and now we can get Casey in this. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that are up for contracts.
oh yeah.
And if the going rate that Jared Goff has presented is $53 million, are you comfortable with giving Dak Prescott $50 million?
Yeah.
I mean, he's already making 50, isn't
He's
he?
certainly
Well,
gonna
he's
get it.
at the end of that rope, so he's going to have to get a new one.
And
What about
like-
a guy like Tua?
Yeah.
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love, who's got 1 year under his belt.
Yeah.
But they look around, they go into contract negotiations and go, listen. And this is where the Browns have messed things up, the Broncos have messed things up with the Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, is that they can say, hey, you could not pay me. But someone else will. And someone will pay for Dak Prescott. If the Cowboys don't, some team will pay for it. Kirk Cousins getting $40 million a year. Like, someone will pay for these guys. So, going back to the whole Joe Burrow thing, it might look cheap at the end, but, like, are you willing to give $50 million for Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, and Tua?
Well, something that is completely outside the game itself, and that's just the money that they bring in every year. It has been growing exponentially. So those $50 million contracts in the next 5 years are probably going to look like nothing. With the new deal with that, what is it, Venmo or whatever? Like that's just another Vemu. Netflix getting some of these games. Like what was
$1,500
the
to watch 17
number?
NFL games.
What was the number to watch all the NFL games?
was
It's like
like
$800 something dollars or something
No,
like
it was
that.
over $1,000.
Over
Yeah.
$1,000
For all the streaming
like,
services and everything. It's over $1,000.
Yeah. It's cheaper to go to every Panthers game than watch every Panthers game on the streaming service.
Yeah.
By about half.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that being said, like the cap is just gonna go up and up and up. I would give out the money. That's why I was so like gung ho on them signing guys like Jesse Bates, because I know the cap eventually it's gonna look like
I'm not
great
doing
deals.
the Jesse Bates thing today, so skim past your point.
Well,
No, do
the
it.
same,
Bring
the
it up.
same, the same,
He's brought the 12-game
The
winning
same-
streak up every segment.
the same rule set applies to the Jesse Bates conversation
Right.
as it does the quarterback conversation. Like the numbers are gonna look great in a couple of years. So yeah, go ahead, give him $50 million. It's probably gonna be like right in the middle of the league here in the next couple of years.
The issue isn't will you do it? It's you have to do it. If you have
don't have a
if you have a
Well, that's
Yeah,
the
it's fair,
that's
too.
the thing is if they are continually forcing themselves, right? You've got to give Tua $50 million. That's the going rate for Tua. You got to give Jordan Love, who has 1 year under his belt, and I love Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love's looked fantastic. I like the Packers a lot. If you have to give him $50 million, if you have to give Dak Prescott, who with a loaded roster has 2 playoff wins under his belt, if you have to give him $50 million, and teams will we get to a point where these teams will look at the most important position in professional sports and say, if my options are to give Tua Tagovailoa $55 million or to try my hands with a young quarterback, will that ever flip? Will that ever flip to where they go, hey, I cannot give Tua $55 million. He hasn't played well in the postseason. He hasn't played well in the cold, and he's injury prone. I'd be better off going out and getting one of the rookies, one of the guys coming out of the draft. Will we ever get to that point?
I really don't think so, just because the hit rate is so low on rookie quarterbacks. Unless we see a switch like we've seen with wide receivers over the last 5-6 years,
where it's
just plug and play. Right. Everyone's a star. Like 90% of whatever first-round wide receivers are getting a second contract at this rate. And if quarterbacks somehow switches to that, I guess, but I don't see it, because the reason why you have so many good wide receivers is because you have so many good wide receivers on good teams. Every good team only has one quarterback. So guys like Drake May, who's going in the top of the draft, are playing against competition in North Carolina and the ACC that you're not going to be incredibly confident in that translation. I think you're better off, like you said, with how the cap's just going to keep going up, paying even the Tuas and the Daks a lot of money. My question is when it comes into guys, Justin Fields is a free agent next year. He's probably going to sit behind Russell Wilson all year this year and be sitting there. Someone's going to give him a starting spot. What's the money
as a kick returner?
Probably. What's the money for a guy like him? What's the money for a guy like Drew Lock or Jarrett Stidham, who's probably going to start a couple games this year?
Right.
Daniel Jones hasn't been healthy. Jarrett Stidham out there, Bo Nix, Lord knows how he's going to play. So all these guys, that middle tier of quarterbacks, what happens when they start getting $25 million?
Right.
$30 million.
Geno Smith got what? 2 year 40.
Yeah, he's not even a middle tier quarterback.
Right.
He's a bottom tier quarterback. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All these guys getting paid, and then you see Kirk Cousins get $45 million, and then they turn around and draft Michael Penix at 8. So I don't really understand what the quarterback market is doing right now. I think it's growing at a rate that's certainly unsustainable, because you're thinking 5 years down the line, the 10th best quarterback in the league is going to be making $65 million a year. That's crazy.
It's also worth mentioning, and you're right, the quarterback market is growing at something that is unsustainable. And we could say the same thing for MLB contracts and all these things, but you got to remember, just like selling a house, all it takes is one house in the neighborhood to completely blow up the market. If all these homes are selling for $200,000 and then one home sells for $275,000, everyone else in the neighborhood says, "Hey, my home looks pretty similar to that. I want to sell it for that." Vice versa, it works for buyers, where he says like, "Hey, all these homes are selling for $500,000, and this one couple sells their home for $350,000." Then it goes back the other way. This could happen with quarterbacks, to where it takes a Tua getting a 3-year, $75 million contract, which, by the way, won't happen. But all it takes is one of those to kind of even things out. It's just, where's the buck going to stop? Where is it going to happen? And you bring up a great point, because someone will pay for Justin Fields. I don't know what they'll pay, but someone will pay for a guy like Justin Fields as an answer. It's just, are we trending towards an area to where teams look at guys and say, like, I can't justify giving Jordan Love $55 million. I'm going to try my hand in the draft again, or something along those lines. I do not know. As with everything, we can look at things in hindsight and go, we can predict things. The only prediction I have about where contracts are going is that I feel like $100 million contracts for wide receivers might go the way of the Buffalo, or the way of the Dodo here in a second. Another, like, man, I'm firing these out.
You're killing it today.
left and right. I don't know.
What do you? Good.
No, go.
What do you think the attendance numbers will be for the Bengals this year?
I will.
Every home game.
Every game will be sold out except for the final week, unless it means something.
When they're sitting the starters, or
Or Jake Brown and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only time.
One or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be the final home. If I don't even know if they're home that final week.
They
but
are Steelers.
They are Steelers. So that's the only way that they'll sell in every.
Do you have anything to say to Colin Cowherd? That's your guy, and he picked Jared Goff over Joe Burrow?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
He said Joe Burrow's better than Jared Goff.
He said Joe Burrow's better, but he'd take Jared Goff.
So here's the thing.
That's a smart man right there.
I do
because of the injury thing.
And Burrow had that backwards hat one time.
Oh yeah. Goff would never wear a backwards hat.
I do like Colin, and you guys know I defend Joe tooth and nail on this show. It seems like crazy that I have to defend Joe Burrow in the city of Cincinnati, but here I am. If the objective is to get to the postseason, it seems, and this is where I'm going to lose some of you guys, it seems like the better call would be to take Jared Goff because of the injuries. Jared Goff plays.
Wins.
Practically He's missed very little time. Joe has had an injury of some sorts every single year. Now, if the objective is to win a Super Bowl, then you're silly to take Jared Goff over Joe Burrow.
I agree.
But you got to take Joe. You got to take Joe. You got to take JB9. But when it comes to getting to the postseason, it's not the craziest take to say Jared Goff. Jared Goff's a very, very good quarterback.
Is Jared Goff
has a trade ever worked out better for two teams?
No, it has not.
No.
It's the best trade of all time.
Has Jared Goff cemented himself inside the top 10 yet? When does that happen?
Top 10 quarterbacks?
Yeah.
He's right there.
I don't think he's there
So
yet.
there's
Because I don't think he's there yet.
You know what I was actually thinking about when it was Jared Goff, and I was thinking about that trade that happened between Matt Stafford and Jared Goff. We look at Matt Stafford so much differently because he won one game. And we do this across all sports, right? If Matt Stafford loses that game to the Cincinnati Bengals, we are still talking like, yeah, he's good, but he hasn't won the big one.
Yeah.
Hasn't won it all. It's just it is truly funny that we do that as sports fans, that sometimes and that's why we look at Joe Burrow with such high regard. Yeah, he's been injured, but the reason that we love him so much is because he doubled the franchise playoff wins. They had 5 playoff wins before they drafted Joe Burrow. He had 5 in a 2-year stretch. We look at Matt Stafford differently because he won one game that Jared Goff had not won. But he's right there. Like there's a top tier, right? There's Patrick Mahomes, and then there's that tier, which I think is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, maybe Herbert's right there. But then you get the tier below that is guys where Jared Goff fits into the same mold as like a Dak Prescott. I would dare to throw a Jordan Love in there. I would dare to I wouldn't put like guys like Tua and stuff like that, but he's right there on the top 10.
That's fair.
Yeah, he's also the only quarterback besides Brady and Peyton Manning to lead multiple teams to 14 wins in a season.
Yeah,
Good quarterback.
he's a good quarterback.
I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback.
He's not like flashy or like he's not by any means a top 5 quarterback in the league, but I'd
He's
say
like Brock Purdy.
8 to 10.
Very similar.
Very similar to Brock
We're
Purdy.
not doing the Brock Purdy. We're not doing the Jesse Bates. We're not doing the Brock Purdy thing.
But we'll do the 12-game winning streak all day long.
It just happened.
That's nonsense. I do have a cherry on top. Unfortunately, I can't run it on this part of the show, by the way. So we will do that on once the radio show ends.
Just a reminder to the listeners out in Dayton, listen to this show. This is Off the Bench. We are live every day on YouTube starting at 10 a.m. Just search Chatterbox Sports and it'll come up. Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. But that does it for our radio portion of today's episode. We'll see you around next time on 1410 Wing AM. Got there. I'm sorry for the 12-game win streak stuff.
Yeah.
It was up on a tee.
It's a tired joke.
You're sorry, but you keep picking it up and put it back on the tee.
Well, you gotta get your hacks in. You gotta get. I don't care. I really do like the future of the National League Central. I really do think that the Reds are trending. They have too much talent, young talent on this team to not be a competitive franchise for years to come. You guys laughed at me before the year. I know they're 5 games under 500, but the Pittsburgh Pirates are in an incredibly similar boat. Although I really like their pitching staff. Jared Jones, Paul Skeens are dudes. And then the Brewers just seem to do no wrong. Brewers just keep on churning. Their entire lineup's hitting well, and then the Cubs have a really bright future as well.
Lineup's sitting well and their rotation's hurt. So the Brewers, that is. So yeah, everybody else seems to be navigating the injury stuff fine. It's just the Reds.
Cubs aren't.
Huh?
Cubs are not hitting well right now.
Cubs are not hitting well.
They got Miles Mastroboni and Nick Madrigal playing middle infield.
Damn.
I love the Mastroboni jokes that happen like once a month. That's a ridiculous
Might be
name.
more than that.
That's a ridiculous name. I mean, the fact that national broadcasters are making Mastroboni jokes is great.
I mean, talk about right there on the tee. Like you couldn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually like a joke that writes itself. You just go like, hey, it's Mastroboni, and you're just like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Can I give you my cherry on top today?
Yes.
Casey, I sent this to you via the direct message feature on Twitter. So I don't watch NASCAR, don't care anything about it, but apparently this was an all-star race yesterday, and it was Ricky Stenhouse versus Kyle Busch. They got into an argument. I guess they were, I don't know, driving too close to one another, bumping into one another during the race. I guess that's what happened.
But rubbing's racing, Elliot.
That's right. I don't know too much about NASCAR, but this is what happened post-match, post-race.
Post-game.
Post-game.
Contest.
Oh,
the
this is
buffer.
disgusting.
The buffer.
Oh, it's disgusting.
The Bruce buffer.
Got to redo it. But I saw this yesterday. I was like, hey. And NASCAR, the best part was NASCAR was promoting this.
He's just punching everybody. Yeah. He's like, I don't care who's holding me.
Anyone on his side?
Throw another one.
Look, and then this guy up top, he starts shoving people.
Did they get in a boxing ring?
Dude, he's been waiting for that moment his entire life, just to shove somebody down.
Shout out to Cincinnati Reds. That's whoever the spot in the blue team was.
Yeah, that's wild. NASCAR legit has tweeted about that video nonstop.
Really?
Nonstop. The MLB, no, we frown upon it. NBA, we frown upon it. NHL and NASCAR, all for it, baby. All for those fights.
It is awesome when you go to a Cyclones game. You are only there for the cheap beer and a fight.
They have the best mascot in the world.
Puck chop.
Puck chop.
Thank you.
Greatest mascot.
Elliot hates puck chop.
Puck chop. When they switched from the real puck chop to the inflatable puck chop, it was the greatest move in sports. I mean, that thing just deflates flat 90 back up. It's incredible.
Have the Cyclones been good in our lifetime?
They won a chip. They won a chip.
They won the Kelly's Cup.
Yep.
They won Kelly's Cup.
I don't know if the Y'alls have ever been good. I don't know
Wow.
if the Y'alls have ever been good.
Yeah, I listen. I think they were better when they were the Freedom, but that's just my opinion.
People forget the Florence Freedom. Their inaugural season,
yeah.
they played in Hamilton. They played at Foundation Field, home of the Cable Dodgers. Played on the. I remember going to the games.
That's awesome.
Then they built the stadium, and I've been at that stadium when it's flooded.
Really?
Oh yeah, we were playing like a summer ball game there, and it rained for like hours, and the drains and the dugouts were clogged. So there was legitimately like 6 inches of water just floating in our dugout. Jeez. Right there. Those the Florence Y'alls have bathrooms in their dugouts. I started playing there when I was probably like 2012, 2011, and the last time I played there was 2019. I don't think those bathrooms were ever clean. I mean, they look like a Kroger bathroom. If you ever been in a Kroger bathroom.
Have the Bengals bathrooms been cleaned up lately? Because I remember going to Bengals games when I was young. And again, I just haven't gone to too many Bengals games in my life. I remember those being the foulest place on earth. That and the Notre Dame bathrooms are gross too.
Notre Dame
bathrooms.
have troughs.
Yeah.
They got rid of them.
Oh
It's the
no!
worst thing ever.
Trough.
The de-trophization of sports stadiums is
That's all they had.
terrible thing.
I'll die on that hill.
The A's,
Love it.
the A's still have them.
The Cubs still have the
Do they?
troughs.
Ohio
Cubs-
State has them in the lower bowl.
Nice. I love troughs. When I went to Denver, all the bathrooms were unisex. They were just bathrooms with stalls. Which I've always I actually got in a fight one time with a gas station clerk. I was coming home from work, had like a 45-minute drive, and I had to go to the restroom. And I get in there, they have 2 single stall bathrooms.
Yeah.
And the boys was being used. So I just went in the girls.
Absolutely
It's
fair
the
game.
same bathroom.
Yeah.
There's no difference. And I did what I do. I did what I came there to do.
Of course.
And I got out of there a few minutes later, and some clerk is just screaming at me, yelling at me back left and right. I'm just like, it's single stall bathrooms. Just say bathroom on the thing. Like, why do we need a boys and a girls single stall bathroom? Although I'll say the girls probably take a little bit better care of their restroom than the boys do.
Yeah, I'd
That
say
is
so.
the reason. Yeah.
I'd say so. What are your thoughts on the stalls without doors?
Why are they there?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's not a stall.
We went to a bar in Kansas for that road trip we did, and there was a stall that just didn't have a door, and it just like, what are we doing? That's weird.
So you went to Ada, and in between Ada and Bluffton there is a truck stop called Beaver Dam.
Yeah.
At Beaver Dam, there was a trucker bar, which was the closest bar to Bluffton University, called Thirsties. I mean, it was a ratty place. But they had a restroom with a toilet and a urinal. The toilet did not have a stall.
Really?
Did not. It was just out in the open.
Good.
I, a few times, had to use the toilet, not the urinal.
Of course. As everyone does.
And do you know how funny it is when you're just sitting there 1 a.m. in a trucker bar and you're taking a grumper and a big guy in a leather jacket opens up the door and just sees you 8 feet away just by yourself, and you give him the, hey, what's up? How's it going? And he just uses the urinal and I'm just using the stall, and we just go about our business as the final 20 minutes of this show
Nice.
goes off the rails.
I have
Goes
one more thing we can talk about too. Casey, I'm sending you this via the direct message feature on X.com. This will be. I saw this last
These
week.
are real bad, if I think.
I saw this last week, but I didn't get to talk about it on the show. The City Connect uniforms, I think, have lost their luster a little bit. And I say that I love this. Let me be very clear. I like the City Connect jerseys. I think
I like
they're
that
fun.
jersey. I don't like the hat.
That's so bad.
The hat's bad.
Why is it called the Lou? Who
They
calls?
play in St. Louis.
Correct. I understand that part. Do you think anybody in St. Louis says, "Hey, where do you live?" Oh, I live in the Lou.
Skip to it.
You can go to the bathroom in it. But listen, that's one of the worst ones.
Every single City Connect jersey that comes out recently, other than the Mets, I actually like the Mets.
I like the
one.
Mets too. People didn't like the Mets. I like
I
them.
like the
I
Mets.
don't-
I love the Rays.
Love the
I'm not
Rays.
a huge fan of
I like the
Rays.
Rays logos.
I like the Indians or Guardians. Sorry,
I like the Rays
sorry,
logos, too.
Guardians. Those are great.
You did that on purpose.
And then the Reds ones are still clearly the best.
I love the
But
Rays.
I like the Cubs.
People didn't like the
I like the Wrigleyville
Yeah,
ones.
Wrigleyville's good.
Wrigleyville
You guys
ones
still
are very
wear
good.
those, or are they out of rotation now?
They wear
I
them.
don't think I've seen. I think they've
They
worn
wear
them
'em.
one time maybe this year on a
Really?
Friday. Yeah, they don't wear them a whole.
Dodgers have two now.
Yeah, Dodgers have 2.
What?
Yeah, they have a second one coming out. It got leaked or whatever.
Well, their first one was
Going out
terrible.
next
Their
week.
first one was just
This
their,
one's no better.
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
It's just the
Pittsburgh's-
same exact
Pittsburgh's
jersey
bad.
over and over again.
Pittsburgh's
bad.
bad. St. Louis is bad.
Boston's terrible.
I'm thinking the Central.
Oh, okay.
The
Brewers
Reds
are really good. Brewers
the
are really
Cubs
good.
are good, and the Brewers,
the Brewers are good.
Yeah, so we're 3 for 5 here in the Central.
good.
Padres do
They're
too
fun.
much with theirs, I think, for my liking. They're okay. I think it's too much. Any other? Who?
So you guys were
Pittsburgh
commenting
Pittsburgh's the
about-
worst one.
about the Lou.
Yeah.
St. Louis, the Lou. My favorite, just fun fact, is the school, the Bonaventures, the St. Louis Bonaventures. Their school is a Catholic school in the city of St. Louis. They are named after the saint. Like, they're not named after the city. They're spelled differently. They spell it out. It's not St. Louis. It's St. Louis. So they are named after the Saint Louis.
That's hilarious.
That's great. I love that. That's fantastic.
That's phenomenal.
That is good stuff. That's good stuff. Shout out to the Gateway.
When do you think the NFL will start doing something like that? They'll bring
We're
up. They'll.
there.
we're
Third helmet rule.
Getting
is
there, third helmet rule, yeah.
I.
We know what's great is because the Bengals are a new team.
Yeah.
So, like, the Reds being an old team, you're kind of bogged down by tradition. Like the Cubs, the Yankees, the Red Sox, all these teams are bogged down. The Tigers are another team. Because they're old teams,
Yeah.
they kind of have to have these certain jerseys. Like, they can have a third jersey in rotation, but for the most part, they're sticking to the pinstripes. The Reds are like that. The Bengals are not like that. The Bengals are a young team with a good color scheme and stripes, so they can have some fun. They can have some fun, and that's fun to have.
Were you fan or not a fan of the Giants jerseys that got leaked that they're gonna wear?
I haven't
Those-
even seen them.
Those were great for one reason and one reason only. It got Twitter to pull up all the other terrible uniforms over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really bad. You can't find me an NFL uniform with khaki pants. That's good.
I think it's just like,
was-
why? Like, who wants
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Like, I get-
100-year anniversary, they got to wear the uniform they wore 100 years ago. Yeah. No, you don't. You don't have to.
Right.
Uniforms have gotten better.
could
for
put a patch
reason.
on
Like,
You don't have to play the same offense
Yeah,
that too.
no.
Which the Giants, they might actually score more points if they go back to a
Y.A. Tittle.
right. Go back to that 1920.
Who is the best jersey in sports? I was thinking about this the other day too. I think
I think the Rangers in hockey are really good.
Really?
Blue and white. The
Yeah.
blue and whites are great.
I really like the Avalanche. Casey's Avalanche. I love them.
I love the Stars green jerseys.
I don't like those.
Now we're just doing our hockey teams.
They're okay. But I think in the NFL, I think the Bills, Chargers.
Raiders has always been mine.
Bengals have great jerseys.
Raiders.
Bengals
Bengals have good jerseys.
Bengals have great. We have great helmets. We have
Yeah.
top tier helmets.
The Bengals white jerseys are my favorite though.
Lions
Do
new
you like the
uniforms
white
are
jerseys
pretty
better
good.
with the white helmet or the orange helmet? I like them better with the orange
I
helmet.
like
I
the
agree.
orange helmet.
I like
I
the
like the
orange
orange
helmet. Yeah.
I thought that was going to be a
I like the orange
minority
helmet.
take.
Well, we really wanted the white helmet
Because it
and
was
then
different.
And then we got it, and we're like, it's pretty.
And everyone's like, oh, this is really cool.
The
but-
whiteout is cool since we continue to do it well.
Yeah.
As soon as we don't execute a whiteout, I think I'm done with the white helmet.
You know what? Another thing about sports that we do, so we complain or we like these new jerseys that come out. Every time that a team changes its name, we hate it. Like we made fun of Cleveland for changing to the Guardians, Washington Commanders and stuff like that. Let me just specify that as a whole, United States professional sports teams have not been very good at naming teams.
There's 3 teams in baseball named after the color of their socks.
Correct. Correct. We as a whole are not very good at naming things. 100 years ago, we were naming them. It was either the color of your socks or just an arbitrary animal at the zoo, at the local zoo. We're just like, oh yeah, there's a baby bear here now.
Padres
Look,
got
Cubs.
creative.
Look like the new baseball teams are better.
They have some good
Padres
ones,
because
yeah.
of because all the missions that were there. The Brewers because they brew beer there and
Rockies.
stuff like that. Yeah, that's fun. But like, let's not act like we are batting 1,000 on naming teams.
I also the funny part about the naming it after socks. 2 of them named it after the same color sock.
Yeah.
It's a little fun fact
One
for
was
you.
a stocking.
Well, that's true. But both red.
They were.
So that goes actually back to what we talked about earlier about soccer teams used to just name their name after their
Football
city.
club.
Though that's what happened originally with baseball. They were just the team that they were in and what league they played in. Like the first team that ever won the World Series was the Boston Americans. They were just the Boston baseball team in the American League. And that's how it went. And then eventually they started getting named after their sock color because they'd write stories in the paper like, oh yeah, that's the Cincinnati Reds. They wear red. That's how it ended. And then just stuck. Just stuck. That's how a lot of college teams are. They would get randomly in a clipping. They're just a random adjective would be thrown out, and they're just like, all right, we're staying that. Kent State, someone probably wrote a story like they flew across the field like golden flashes. They're like, we're the golden flashes now.
The worst names are the ones that have moved and no longer make sense. Like the Lakers from Minneapolis, the Jazz in Utah, long story Jazz history in Utah.
Right.
Like that's terrible.
You don't think the Mormons don't have a Jazz history?
Right. And when you move cities, you got to change the name. That's why I was glad the Coyotes are leaving Coyotes in Arizona and then starting a new franchise in Utah. I think that's the right way to go about it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the Utah Coyotes would still kind of work, right?
I think they're going for Yetis. I think
The
Yetis
Yeti-
is leading.
Has to be the
Ooh.
Yeti.
It
That'd
looks
be
very
good.
cool. There's a couple other options that are getting a lot of votes for a Utah mascot, but I don't think any of them will get cleared.
I like the Yeti.
I'm trying to think of what other teams have kept their. So you mentioned the Lakers. That's the big one. There's like, where's a lake near Los Angeles? The Stars were from Minnesota, and then they moved down, but it worked because they were the Minnesota Stars, and they went down to Dallas, and then like, oh, we're the Lone Star State.
The Colts?
So we'll just keep it going. Well, they yeah. Why were they the Colts? Were they the Colts in Baltimore because of the
Preakness.
racetrack? Yeah, because
Yeah.
of the Preakness. And then they moved to Indianapolis, and they're just like, yeah, we'll just keep it rolling.
I think so.
We'll just keep it rolling.
How about that?
I see enough horses on my drive out to Indianapolis that I'll let that one slide.
Casey, your thoughts on the college football video game? The trailer came out. We didn't get to discuss that either on Friday.
I'm excited for it. I was telling Jacob this. I'm a little disappointed about the hopes for us doing something for it because the dynasty mode that we were going to do, the league, is not cross-platform right now.
Really?
So only
Everything else is.
everything else
Really?
is though. So I don't know what we do about that. But there's 32 teams available.
Everyone just get a PS5. Use your brain. Don't buy an
Yeah,
Xbox.
if you want to
Yeah.
play with us, get a PS5. That's basically what I'm gonna say.
Well, they
to
have the
people at moment.
mascot games. Can I play as a
I wanna
Stanford
put-
Cardinal
That
too?
hasn't
Yes.
been announced yet.
It
I'm
has
holding
to
out
be. It
hope.
has to be.
I need it to be. I
has to be.
need it to be.
They're finally letting you put your pants above your knees for players. Leggings are in the game. Branded socks, like Adidas schools will have Adidas socks. Nike schools will have Nike socks. They'll have Under Armour.
I don't think I ever created a player in college football
Really?
that didn't have taped up ankles all the way to the mid calf.
Yep.
Every single time. They all had the back plate. They had every single
The
one. They
Revo
were
Speed
bulky
with
guys.
with
right.
the 3 bars.
Right. It looked good.
Yeah, I will say. Do you think this game will be the most bought game? Do you think it'll? Do you think it'll top?
Its
Grand
pre-sales
Theft Auto.
already trending to be the highest pre-sold sports game ever.
I mean, it might be the highest sports game ever.
You'd have to
Yeah.
say sports because
Okay.
it'll never cross like GTA, Call of Duty. Like
I don't.
anything.
I had this talk with Trace because he had that same take about how it would be the highest grossing game ever, and I was like, I don't think you realize
How big?
some games are.
Yeah.
I don't think you the video game industry. I saw this. I don't know if this is still true, but at one point the video game industry made more money than the movie, music, and sports industry combined.
Really?
Yes,
That's
which is crazy. I mean, GTA 5 is 12 years old now,
Yeah.
11 years old now, and they're still selling copies. I
That's
think Tetris
outrageous.
is the highest sold game of all time.
Tetris is number 3.
Ooh, it got surpassed by GTA 5.
GTA
and
5
Minecraft.
is number 2, and Minecraft is number 1.
Minecraft.
Minecraft has an insane lead on everything else.
Well, that's the other. So another record that they has. So if you look at what's the IP, intellectual property, is the most valuable over the course of all time. People are like, is it Mickey Mouse? People are like, is it Mario? Is it like something like Hello Kitty is really high? It's Pokemon. It's the video game Pokemon is the highest sold. It's made more money than Marvel. It's made more money than Harry Potter, which I think is interesting.
Wii Sports top 5. Great game.
Wii Sport. They need.
It came with every. It came
But
with
everyone got
every,
Wii
right,
Sports,
with every
yeah.
console.
They were forcing
I
it
guess
upon
that's
you.
just how many Wiis were sold.
That's why Tetris came with every Game Boy. I'm pretty sure
Gotcha.
it came out. So
Them never updating Wii Sports is the real crime. And I know they did Wii Sports
Resorts was
Resort,
sick.
but I wanted the Wii Sports. Like I want Wii Sports Golf from that game. I want like unlimited golf holes. I want different tennis courts. I want to play at Wimbledon.
I've played that Wii Sports golf course 15,000 times.
Oh, so
I mean, like a mind-numbing amount.
I've got a buddy who has a Wii. We play it probably once every 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
We play it once every 2 weeks.
my plate discipline against the splitter,
Oh, I couldn't hit it.
it just
I
falls
couldn't hit it.
off the
Yeah.
table every time.
I blame that for how bad I am at the show.
I mean, it just
I was
falls
swinging a
off.
chunk in the Wii when I was 5.
Golly.
Now I can't see a slider save my life online.
That is one thing that I haven't even attempted is I felt like when I played a lot more video games, I was okay. I wouldn't say I was good or anything like that. I've not even tried to be good at sports games. Madden, MLB The Show. I get on, and I just want to score 30 runs with the Chicago Cubs
Yeah.
or the score 18 touchdowns with Joe Burrow. Like that's just what I want to do.
My
I'm
Reds
not gonna-
franchise is in the mid-2030s. I'm doing the same thing.
Right. I barely play any games. It's more about just signing guys and keeping it rolling. Which, by the way, people used to do that with college football. They used to just like do the recruiting. I'm out on that. I wanted to
See,
play
I
the
always
game.
do that.
I just wanted to play the game.
Just want to score.
I always start at Kent State and build them up to a national power.
I would always pick the
I'd always
worst.
start Miami.
I would always
They're
pick the
close.
worst one. Who was the worst one in the game?
You have Sam Houston State this year. They're
Citadel-
the only half star in the game.
Oh,
The Citadel was in it. They were-
Citadel
they
was
were
in the
pretty
last
good.
one?
Yeah.
Was it
Or
really?
maybe they were in 13, but they were definitely in one of them.
I also used to do this thing in college football where I would try to win games 14-7, and I would have it to where there'd only be 3 total possessions of the game. Like if I'd get the ball first, I couldn't stop the other team. So they would score, and then I'd just run the triple option with the chew clock on in a 5-minute quarter. And I'd go score like in the final 30 seconds. And that'd be the end. And then I'd get the ball back, and I'd try to hold it for the entirety of the game and then score like win on a field goal, 10-7, 14-7. That was my goal. I was trying to keep it low scoring, make it nice and fun. There was fun. That was the difference between college football and Madden is all the different playbooks that you could play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could play a triple option out of the pistol, which is an unbelievable playbook. Doesn't win a whole lot. Doesn't win a whole lot in actual practice. but-
Whenever you sim like an NCAA dynasty or anything, by like 4 or 5 years in, the service academies are always at the top because the CPU defenses can't guard the triple option. It always ends up being Army and Navy in every championship unless it's your team.
I did a now we're just telling stories of old college football. I did a road to glory as a Miami quarterback, and I took the team to the national championship. And who we played in the BCS era of the national championship, not even a college football playoff, we played Arkansas State. Both teams 12-0. It's like, how the hell did this happen?
You say not everyone has a chance.
Oh, I can't wait to get back into that one.
That debate's gonna be really good.
I can't wait to get
Who's gonna be the 13th team?
Fun. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Trace alluded to it last week, and we'll continue to mold this show in the way that we think best fits the company and keeps it entertaining with the people that we have, the talent that we have in the room. But we'll see you tomorrow on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. See you guys.